With a professional sports franchise, the franchise can have an outsized impact on the community in a positive way, and that's as important as anything we do, trying to be a good corporate citizen in San Diego and every year trying to be better at it. It's human suffering in a way that I don't believe needs to occur. With rare exceptions, homeless people have problems, whether it's mental health or physical health, or simply, especially during the pandemic, they simply ran out of money, and you see more children out there. It's critical to all of us, and I spend a lot of my personal time, and we have one objective, and that's to reduce the suffering, help the most vulnerable. And I've got some optimism as we further step into 2023 that things are going to get better. Our overarching goal is one thing, and that's to win a world championship and bring a parade and the title to San Diego.
You're a Zen guy. As someone who's not really, I don't have a shred of Zen in me, how does one achieve that kind of inner peace?
Oh, I feel very fortunate. I've had 2 big battles with cancer, and I've seen a lot of people suffer in that area as well, and I'm very fortunate to be here and enjoy it, and to be around all the thrills of baseball and hang out with guys like you and fans like we're talking to today. But just to state what people say, but really try to take it to heart, to make the most out of every day and enjoy it, have some fun, laugh, and hopefully make a positive difference. Owning a franchise, there's nothing like it. You know, the thrills are nightly, or the disappointments, and you feel that every night, and the great thing about baseball is if you lost last night, we're back at it again today, and we're going to win today.
And on a personal level, I do thank every single one of you, whether you're a young child or somebody that's been following baseball for 80 years, whether you consume it on an iPhone or leave all the electronics like I do in the car and just relax and watch a baseball game. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods here, 97.3 The Fan. A profoundly sad day yesterday. It's good to be back with you guys. I missed you very much. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning. Morning.
And Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, is here as well. Paulie, great intro, by the way. Just gutted me so early this morning. Beautiful piano provided by our pal Bobby Cressy, organist for the Padres, and his other project, Dumosa. So that was really moving and sweet and brings back a lot of fond memories that we have of the late, great Peter Seidler, who passed away yesterday at 63 years old. Some devastating news to wake up to yesterday, and I just wanted to pay our respects today to the man that Peter was, the owner that Peter was, the father, the husband, all of that. Just a very, very sad day yesterday.
It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Good morning, and it was a sad day. There are very few people in life. Everybody has their ups and downs and their mixed legacies, but there are very few people who were as universally beloved as Peter Seidler. I've never met anybody who did not like Peter Seidler, who did not respect Peter Seidler, and this is a loss, obviously, for the Padres fans, San Diego, but it's a loss for all of baseball as well, and it's a loss for humanity that, Peter Seidler is no longer with us, and I can only hope that we all take a little bit of what we learn from Peter Seidler and, keep it with us and try to keep his spirit alive going forward, because he carried a lot of that, for us, that, we've got our lives and our interests, and, we stay in our lanes, and we're just so worried about, what we're doing next and taking care of us and our family. And Peter cared about so much more than just his and his own. He cared about everybody all the time so much. And I think it's the most important lesson that we can all take from Peter Seidler.
Yeah, no doubt. I have the fondest memories of getting to interview Peter multiple times. And honestly, my favorite one was the day that I knew that we were going to have him on the next day. And I went home. We were at spring training, and I shaved my entire face, and I dyed my mustache, and I just left my stash, and so that I could get the picture with Papa Pete, who had grown the mustache, and ask him about the mustache, and do a picture with him. It was about 30 degrees outside that day.
So cold.
It was so bone-chillingly cold that the guys from inside had to bring us out heavy bullpen jackets and skull caps, which we didn't have.
Well, you pansies, here we go.
They're like, here you go, dude. And we put
complaining.
We put those on, and Peter sat out there and braved it with us and answered every question. And, I had asked him early on in the interview about what it's like, to be the owner of a team and to watch your team drop 3 or 4 games in a row or something. And, he always brought it back to what was really important, and it was the people around Petco Park that were unhoused and didn't have anything. He always brought it back to that. His perspective on life was so incredible, and he would tell you, look, you lose a couple baseball games, imagine not having a place to live. Imagine not having a place to sleep. He talked about the homeless like what they were and what they are, and that's human beings. He is maybe the best example of a true humanist that I have ever met in my life, ever. I fancy myself one, but he acted on it, and he got behind it, and he put his money where his mouth was, and he talked to them. He spoke to them. He respected them. That has stuck with me since that day.
He put his money where his mouth was. He obviously he had a lot of money. He put his time though, and that's something he didn't have a lot of.
It's
Peter,
one thing to stroke a check,
like any baseball owner, business executive. Peter was pulled in obviously a lot of directions, but he always made the time. Bryce Miller at the UT did some of the best work in going on the midnight walks that Peter Seidler would go on, in the community, talking to the unhoused, and going to a 7-Eleven and like buying hot dogs for everyone who was sitting outside because they were hungry, and handing them out, and just doing that himself. Not, he could have paid a foundation to do that. He could have paid an army of people to go out and do that, but he didn't feel like that was the right way to go. He felt like he needed to do it himself and be out there and helping people on a one-on-one individual basis. Of course, he did so much more, and he did great works, but the fact that he gave his time to that, when it could have been very easy to say, oh, I gave $10 million to this cause. I've got other things I got to attend to. No, he put his own effort and his own heart into that passion project as well.
I was reading Dennis Lynn in The Athletic had a couple of stories yesterday, and the one he wrote later in the day was titled, "With Padres, Peter Seidler set himself apart in many ways as the ideal owner." And it says here, addressing homelessness in San Diego became Seidler's personal mission. Some of those attempts were known to the public, such as his founding of the Tuesday Group and his involvement with the Lucky Duck Foundation. Some of his efforts were more private. Seidler, for instance, got into the habit of taking lengthy late-night walks not far from the San Diego coast. Along the way, he frequently stopped to converse with the homeless, to listen and seek a greater understanding of one of the community's foremost crises.
He was a great man, and you could feel it when you sat and talked with him. You could see it in his face. He had a kind face and kind eyes, and a caring man. Just a very caring man that wanted to help. And those people are so few and far between these days. And Ben, you said it best, man. We do always worry about ourselves, our jobs, our money, our career, our families, our homes, and it's rare that we look outside of that. And Peter was a guy that constantly looked outside of his bubble and got out of his comfort zone, probably. And maybe that was his comfort zone.
To describe him, I think kind is the one that always kept coming back to me.
Just a kind man.
He was the kindest human I ever met.
My very first interaction with him is when he took over. And I had run into him, I can't remember exactly where I was, but he gave me this sly look. We were down on the field, I think. And he gave me, do you guys remember this? You were with me.
I remember this.
He gives me this sly look. And, I shook his hand and said, nice to meet you and looking forward to talking to you. And he gave me this sly look. He goes, oh, I've heard about you. We've got some things we need to talk about. And I was like, I melted. I was like, I'm dead. I'm dead. What did I do now? And he, you know what? He never treated me or anyone that I saw him around. He never treated anybody with anything other than kindness. He ran into us down on the field one time and hurried us over. He wanted us to meet Ralph Sampson, who was his roommate in college at Virginia.
The Ralph Sampson.
The Ralph Sampson, the 9-foot-tall Ralph Sampson that he had brought as a guest to a game.
It was the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he was an amazing man. And obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife, Sheil. Their 3 children. That's what gutted me the most, obviously.
Young kids, because he only got married like 13 years ago.
Yep, he's got young kids. And it just gutted me to think about them losing their dad. And the thing, though, they will feel a little bit better knowing what a phenomenal, phenomenal man their father was.
But I want to point out that all of this is true. And when you look at a person like that, someone who is that empathetic and that caring about others, you'd also think, well, but as an owner, then, just go out and try hard, and I hope everybody has fun. He wanted to win.
He did.
He wanted to win badly. He hated the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He wanted to beat them so badly, and he was willing to put up whatever it took to try to win a World Series and bring it to San Diego. That was very important to him. You can say it's just a game. It's just baseball. It's not how he thought.
No.
He wanted to win as bad as anyone who has ever been in San Diego wanted to win. And I think a lot of fans came up to me yesterday, and I was at the Petco Park Memorial. And the one thing everyone said, I wish they could have won it and he could have seen it at some point. And, obviously it'll be great if they do at some point soon. We'll win that World Series, and it'll be for Peter, but we'll still have that tinge of sadness that it didn't get done when he was around to be in that parade that he wanted to bring to San Diego so badly.
No, it's the biggest bummer. And I thought about yesterday, people in life that deserved to reach the highest pinnacle of their sport. Tony Gwynn was another one here, obviously. Like the fact that Tony Gwynn passed away without a ring, it feels wrong, and the fact that Peter Seidler won't get to be here in person to witness a parade, to get a ring, it hurts, it hurts a lot. And I know, that it's so hard. I've been here 14 years in February, and this place is my soul. It's my blood. I love it so much. He took this city, Ben, and made it his own, and wanted to not only just bring a great baseball team here, but he wanted to help all of the citizens, everybody that he could. He always had a kind word for everyone. Had no problem stopping to take pictures with fans, sign autographs, whatever you needed. On the road in Arizona, they're chanting his name. And he's an icon, he's a legend. And he will be so, so missed. And I know that the people down at Petco Park are gutted today. You lose somebody like that, it just guts you. All the people that we know, Eric Grupner, AJ Preller, Craig Huner, all the people that we know and work with all the time, I'm sure they are just gutted today. And
Tom Seidler.
Our beloved Tom Seidler.
Very close with Tom over the years.
Paulie and I get to hang with his brother Tom at fantasy camp every year. You're not going to find, Tom is just the best. He's the best. I wrote him an email yesterday expressing my condolences because I love him. I love that whole family. Everyone that I've met, they're just, for all of the dysfunction sometimes, right, of covering the Padres, Peter was the guy that kind of held it all together, and a guy that makes you want to go and work hard for, because he's working hard. So very, very sad day for us, for the city of San Diego, all the people down at Petco Park, and his family. We're just so sorry.
Today's program will be about Peter, as it should be. We'll pick up the business of Padres baseball and anything else we usually do in the future. But for the next 4 hours, we're going to invite Padres fans to call in, tier ones, your interactions. I heard so many of them on our station yesterday, people calling in about that time that they met Peter and how he, touched their lives, or something he said to them that just resonated in their lives. So we certainly invite you to join us, 833-288-0973.
If the Padres can put a pause on the baseball stuff like they are, I think we can too.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, though, Major Garrett's going to join us. And Major, of course, you know him as our chief Padres fan on the East Coast, CBS Washington, chief Washington correspondent. He had a tight relationship with Peter Seidler. They were kind of a bit birds of a feather a little bit when it came to, the intellectual side of things and discussing the big issues. And, they talked about some big, heavy, weighty stuff over the years. And, Major would, obviously with his Padres passion, was, interested in getting Peter's perspective on things. And he's going to share a little bit. He wanted to come on. We would love to have him on. So he's going to be with us at 6:35 this morning. But, again, please give us a call or share in our chat on YouTube. Or on Twitter if you want to tweet us at Ben and Woods to just talk about Peter Seidler this morning. We will be back after a check of traffic here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's very weird that our normal music is playing. There's some Guns N' Roses. It's so easy.
There's got to be something that tells us it's time to look up and start talking again.
So
I mean,
weird.
that's how it works.
It's just weird.
It could have been more weird if we did like the Daily Ditty and just goofing around.
Yeah, the theme
bands
this
and
week
artists.
is artists who wear glasses.
Right.
So
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that is the theme this week. So we'll pick that up again probably tomorrow. But today is about Peter Seidler and inviting you to share your memories. We'll get to your calls and emails and tweets and comments in a little bit. 833-288-0973. We've got Major Garrett coming up at the bottom of the hour. But I wanted to share my personal, most defining memory of Peter Seidler. I didn't share it at the time because my son wasn't ready to kind of have it be known. But Peter Seidler, of course, not only fought non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, but he was also a type 1 diabetic. And my son was diagnosed a few years ago when he was in high school. And Peter heard about that. And I didn't, this was before Peter had really taken over completely as chairman, and I didn't really know Peter that well. I think we'd maybe spoken once before, but he heard about it and invited me to come visit with him at Petco Park.
That's wild.
And sat down with him for an hour at least, and talk about the challenges of type 1 and am I doing okay, and is there anything that you said, is there anything I can do for you and your family? Just let me know. I just want to be here to help. And he didn't know me from anyone other than guy who on TV and hosts the morning radio show on 97.3 The Fan, but he felt like it was important to reach out and just be as helpful as he could be. And that was the essence of Peter Seidler. Is he wanted to be as helpful as he could be to as many people as he could possibly be helpful to. At all hours of the day, at all times, Peter was looking for ways to help and be better. And just a fantastic human being. I know you're supposed to have a little journalistic objectivity when it comes to people you cover.
It's tough to do that with him.
Pretty much after that day, it went out the window. It's like, I love Peter Seidler.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that bad about it because so did everyone else.
Yeah, right.
It's not like I had a bunch of people, well, you really need to cover the seedy side of Peter Seidler and dig into that dirt. It wasn't there. I mean, it just wasn't there. And he really was the man that we all saw and just got to love here in San Diego. And it's such a devastating loss that he is gone. Other people pass away and it's sad. And it's like, you go, that's sad. This is truly a devastating loss.
There's a ripple effect. We haven't felt the entire magnitude of this. And I'm not just talking about baseball and baseball operations. Because, listen, I think I got texts from people yesterday saying, hey, not to be insensitive, but what happens now? And I said, honestly, I don't know. I dug around a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen with the San Diego Padres. The Padres will go on. I know that. I don't know who's going to be in charge. I don't know how exactly it's going to be run. I don't really care today. But, at some point, those questions will need to be answered. You felt confident and comfortable when Peter Seidler was alive that the ship was headed in the right direction.
I took him at his word.
100%.
What he said was going to happen, it happened.
Yep.
And more, usually.
And more. And with him being gone now, the only thing that I did see people tweeting yesterday, there's only one thing to do now, and it's to go out and fulfill his legacy and continue to do what you need to do to bring a championship to San Diego. It was more than just a piece of metal, as Commissioner Rob Manfred called it. It would be more to this city than just a hunk of metal or a flag flying. It would be more, period. It just would. It would mean more. It would mean more here than a lot of other places. And, now to be able to carry on that legacy, if you're the Equity Group or if you're Eric Grupner or Eric Katsenda, all these people that we're constantly hearing about, you have to pick up the slack there, and they're massive shoes to fill, massive, but I think it's important. That's what he wants, and that's what he wanted. He said before, "Oh, I'll speak from the grave. Don't worry about that. Like, they will hear me from the grave," and that always stuck with me. Like, okay, well, don't go against this man's wishes.
He also said quite recently that he expects the Padres to be in his family for the next 50, 75 years.
I sure hope so, man.
And I still take him at his word because he's Peter Seidler. I feel like, he made those preparations because that's what he wanted to have happen. And obviously he won't be around to make sure of it anymore, so you always worry a little bit. But, I trust that Peter Seidler did everything he could to make sure that was going to happen when he was gone, whether it was now or 20 years from now, that he was going to try to make that a reality in the future for his family and try to keep the Padres going the way that he intended and his vision for the Padres was.
Yeah, no question. Let's get to Major Garrett next, and I want to hear from him. I'm sure
Man's working.
I'm sure it will be beautiful and eloquent.
All right, that's coming.
He's traveling, doing interviews today.
That's coming up next here. Major Garrett on Peter Seidler on 97.3 The Fan. sharing our memories of Peter Seidler this morning here on Ben and Woods, and feels very appropriate to be joined right now by our chief Padres fan on the East Coast, chief Washington correspondent for CBS News, and someone who spent some time with Peter Seidler, had some, I'd imagine, interesting discussions that I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall for. Major Garrett is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Major.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, San Diego. It's a hard day. It was a hard afternoon yesterday. I'm on assignment in Atlanta, and I was just about ready to sit down for an interview when I saw the news on my phone, and I really had to pull myself aside and hold myself together so I could do this interview for a piece I'm shooting that'll be on CBS in some point in the future. It all seemed immaterial at the moment. It's just a hard situation. It's a hard feeling. I think everyone in this audience had a sense that things weren't going well and the news wasn't good, and we kept hoping that we'd get some sign that something was better, that Peter was better. So it can't be characterized as a surprise, but you're never, ever ready. You're never ready.
Yeah.
And when it hits as hard as it hits all of us, and I'm just trying to keep it together right now, you just know what a person he was and what he meant to the community, far beyond baseball. Baseball, yes, of course, but far beyond baseball. San Diego has lost a towering figure, and I feel less myself today than I did yesterday. That's for sure.
Major, do you remember your first meeting with Peter Seidler, like your first impressions of the man?
Yeah, so let me tell you a brief story how this happened, because it's not ordinary for me to know Peter Seidler. Why would it be? I'm just a Padre fan. Many years ago, Dean Spanos, who owned the Chargers in San Diego, reached out to me through one of his top people, Mark Fabiani, who I knew in Washington, D.C. way back in the Clinton years. I got to know Dean. Dean and I had lots of great discussions, and we clashed over whether the Chargers should stay in San Diego. He had a different idea. I had one about San Diego. But Dean introduced me to Ron Fowler, and through Ron Fowler, I got to know Peter. That's how it all happened. I should not know the owners of San Diego sports franchises as a matter of course. I just shouldn't.
Same here.
But because of Dean and others, they brought me into their world. So I was allowed to come to the owner's box, and I'd never met Peter. I didn't know what he looked like. And Peter presents in a very different way than you would expect a major sports franchise owner to present. Okay? He just doesn't look like.
You're right.
I'm like, who's this guy? The owner.
He has burlap pants on. What's going on right now?
That is a 4XL sweater that he's got wearing.
Oh my God. I didn't say those words out loud, but I thought to myself, it's the only thought. It's the only thing that's making me laugh today. I swear. Who is this guy? I mean, like, don't they know that this guy's here?
Like, you have money. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know what, man? I know a couple of rich people. The richest people don't act rich at all in the slightest. Yeah. Like, you're like, you drive that car when you can drive whatever you wanted? It's truly amazing.
And not only in the way he dressed, but also the way he engaged. He was a soft, curious, gentle conversationalist. And uniquely also among people who are wealthy, in certain instances, he was a very good listener. He wanted to listen. He asked questions, and I often found myself thinking, wait a minute, am I being interviewed here? I mean, shouldn't I be learning more about Peter? He was so engaging at that level. And I was really thinking all morning if I could try to find something that might be slightly meaningful to say in this moment. And here's what it is. I hope this is somewhat meaningful. I don't know if it will be. So you don't become a success in private equity without running the numbers and demanding excellence and being precise and setting high standards and going, as the book title says, from good to great. Peter did that. Peter was, in every way, an aggressive, competent, shrewd, energetic, visionary business person. However, there are aspects of life that are hard to measure. And we spend a lot of time in our daily lives measuring all the things that can be measurable. In sports, it's everything: speed, running, velocity, batting average, all these things that have numbers. But there are things in life that are not subject to numbers, that can't be enumerated. They're the human side, the compassionate side, the immeasurable part of humanity. And what Peter was off the charts in the immeasurable human side of life. He knew how to measure all the things you needed to measure to succeed. But he had a great capacity to share and be that immeasurably great human being. And that's what I will miss the most.
Yeah, no question about it, Major. We're talking to Major Garrett here on Ben and Woods this morning. And, you know, there are people that I've known over the years. There are generous people that I know. There are people that do things for attention. He was not one of those guys at all. And I found it very moving that yesterday his Tuesday group, as he called it, still got together at Petco Park and met yesterday on the day he passed. That was the group where he would bring in civic leaders and people to talk about, again, the homeless crisis in San Diego. And there is one. I mean, all you have to do is drive to the ballpark and you know it's there. And he genuinely cared about that. It's one thing, again, as we mentioned earlier, it's one thing to stroke a check, you know, for $5 million and you're done. You walk away and that's that. But it's another thing to get your hands into the clay and help mold it, and that's what he did, and that's just one thing I really admire about it, because I like to give, but man, giving my time is something completely different, and he had no problem doing that.
No, he didn't, and Lucky Duck Foundation is something that everyone in this audience knows about.
Yep.
I know another thing that Peter supported, and through him I came to be a big supporter, the Monarch School. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I know some Padre players go through there. I've had a chance to meet their leadership. I've toured the facility twice. I'm a huge supporter of Monarch School. It is an amazing, path-breaking, innovative place that addresses the needs of children of unhoused people and educates them at an incredibly high level, consistently, year in and year out. Basically, all the foundations and all the things that Ron Fowler and Peter Seidler care about, I care about. And I learn about them through them. I can't do as much as they can, but I do all that I can do. And Peter was, I think all of us hope when an assessment is made of our life, people will say they were the real deal for whatever they were real about. And Peter was the real deal in so many places and in so many ways that you would not necessarily expect, because that extra added value, that presence, that day-to-day involvement, like with that Tuesday group. And I think I know where that idea came from. It may not have come directly from this, but I'm kind of a student of American cities that have remade themselves. And during the time when the industrial composition of the upper Midwest was changing, Pittsburgh changed itself more rapidly and more successfully than competitors like Cleveland, Detroit, Akron, and the like. And one of the reasons it did so is because it had a weekly meeting of all its civic leaders back in the 70s about how it was going to remake Pittsburgh. And they never stopped having those meetings and those conversations about how to re-energize, how to reimagine, how to bring education, how to bring health sciences, how to do other things outside of the steel manufacturing history it had known for more than 100 years. And it rebuilt itself. It's now the memo writer for every city in America that's trying to rebuild it and remake itself. But part of that began with people meeting on a regular basis across industries, across perspectives, across politics. That's exactly what Peter tried to do in San Diego. And I hope with everything in my heart that it continues, that Tuesday group continues. I'm sure it will, because the problem will always be there, and it needs remedies across perspectives and across businesses and associations.
Major, I know you got to go. Before you do, I want to ask you, because as you said, you know, some things cross politics, and you cover politics at the highest level in Washington, D.C. Why is it that we don't ever pick people like Peter Seidler to be our leaders?
Our representatives.
I mean, you know, we pick people who are so unlike Peter Seidler to be the people who represent us in government, whether it be national or local, when it feels like, you know, maybe the Peter Seidlers of the world don't want to do what what you have to go through to get to those positions. But it seems like we'd be better off as a society if it was the Peter Seidlers of the world who were making those big decisions for us.
Well, I couldn't agree more with that, and I don't know the answer as to why. But I know someone like Peter found ways to make change and make it more directly and make it himself and to be a change agent. And he probably found that there was a clearer, more certain, more definable and measurable path for him to do it that way than through public service. And as you hinted at, and I think I'll try to articulate it, in politics, I meet a lot of people all the time who tell me how much they're working for other people. And mostly they're just working for themselves. Peter worked for San Diego. Peter worked for the Padres. Peter worked for our community. We're all better because he was there. And if we can do anything today and the day after, let's be a little bit more Peter Seidler in our day-to-day activities.
That got me, man.
Major, very well said. And thank you so much for
spending
some time with us. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Major Garrett, Chief Washington Correspondent for CBS News, and person who had a relationship with Peter Seidler through, some very unusual connections, from Dean Spanos to Ron Fowler to Peter Seidler, and we learned a little bit more about Major there and more about Peter as well in that conversation.
I thought yesterday to myself as well as I was reading through all of the beautiful tributes that I saw. Beautiful. I mean, from baseball teams to baseball players. Yu Darvish's broke me in half. I'll read it to you later if I can get it together. Was just beautiful, but it popped into my head. Live a life that people will say things like that about you, not only when you pass, but when you're alive. And they would. They would say these things if Peter was here today and word got out that he wasn't doing very well or not. These types of tributes would be coming in anyway. That's the life that you want to be. That's the life you want to have, is where someone will speak about you in those terms. And man, it is devastating to think that he's not going to be here this season.
I see Drew says, such heartbreak. I can't help to think about how lucky San Diego was to call him one of our own. It's not only that. He chose us. He wasn't from San Diego.
Right.
He wasn't even, certainly wasn't from the Padres family. He was from the Dodgers family, and he chose us and San Diego to grace us with what he was all about. It made us feel even more special that Peter, forsook everything else so he could be San Diego and make this his community, and Padres fans his community as well. It makes it even more special.
One of our Tier 1s, John, tweeted in this morning to us a jersey of his that says Seidler, number 1 on the back.
Yeah.
He says, my wife got this jersey last year for Christmas. So proud to have it. Wouldn't have a jersey with many owners' names on it. Wish I could have gotten a chance to meet him. RIP. Hope Peter and the baseball gods will be looking down on a World Series parade soon. I saw a lot of people with Peter Seidler jerseys yesterday. You don't see that in sports. You just don't.
You don't. I mean, I can name you maybe 4 owners of baseball, maybe. Really, I mean that's. But
fans don't treat their owners that way, and the owners don't treat their fans
the owners,
that way.
That's the part. Is the owners don't treat their fans that way.
That relationship is so rare.
You had the owner yesterday of the now to be Las Vegas A's saying, "Well, no one's had it worse than me." That was a quote he said after his meeting yesterday. No one's had it worse than me. Peter Seidler would never say that. Never. He would say the opposite. Everybody has it worse than me, right? I'm so grateful to be able to help and give and things like that. But man, you see what you got, and you just hope. Again, he brought so much hope to San Diego, and you hope that hope lives on, and you hope that legacy lives on.
Even when the Padres were struggling earlier in the year, and he was around and with the team, he was the only person who really wasn't panicking, and he said, "It's going to be okay. We'll fix this, and I'm not going to let this bother me. It's baseball, and we'll just keep working until we get that World Series title." He somehow managed to keep, as you called it, that zen about it, no matter what was going on around him.
Well, it's perspective, and he'd been through two really tough battles, and was victorious in those battles, and was not victorious in this one. But you know what, man? It doesn't even matter. The legacy that he has. I mean, if he's not the next statue at Petco Park, we riot.
Oh.
I mean, it is.
No. Before opening day.
Somebody needs to be in the lab right now. And I love the picture of him standing with his arms crossed, looking up at the crowd, not taking any credit at all for it. Just looking up at the crowd in pure awe and enjoyment of what he was able to help bring here. And he's given us a lot of special moments over the last few years since we've been a show together, certainly. And, with our audience and packing that ballpark every single night. I'd like to continue to do that, for him. For him, absolutely. Continue to support this team as hard as you can, because that's exactly what he would have wanted you to do.
Don't go anywhere. We still have a few more minutes this hour. We've got to get a quick check of traffic right now on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by SDG&E. Well, guys, looks like the ride out of the South Bay has just turned sour. Northbound side of the 805 past Bonita. There is a collision blocking middle lanes. Got a couple vehicles involved in this one. So, yeah, expect some slowing there. That's northbound 805 past Bonita. And got a big rig whose tire caught fire southbound side of the 15 right before Gopher Canyon. That's over to the right shoulder. In peak wildfire season, as a last resort, SDG&E may need to shut off power in specific areas for public safety. Learn more about public safety power shutoffs at sdge.com/PSPS. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
One of my favorite things about Peter Seidler was the way that he handled Fernando Tatis Jr. And we talked to him about that a little bit. And he did an interview with ESPN and basically said, look, I sat down with Fernando and told him, hey, this is a big one. The wrist injury, the steroid thing. And he said, this is what I love, though, the quote. He said, I think just for me, things like that don't make me mad. People make their own choices in life. I work in a lot of different areas, and men in their 20s tend to make a mistake or two. I haven't met one who hasn't, including myself, of course. I was honest with him, and I think vice versa, and really praised Fernando Tatis for his humility, for his willingness to come in and really kind of hat in hand apologize for everything he'd kind of done. And while there were people calling this radio station and people around town, calling him a traitor and he needs to be traded and this and that, Peter Seidler, his owner, the man who wrote him the biggest check, was the one saying, listen, give him another chance. He was a humanist, man. He loved the human condition. And all he had to do was look in Fernando Tatis Jr.'s eyes and say, I believe him. I believe him, and I believe he's going to get back on the right track. And look what's happened. He put his faith in him, as everybody should have, and look what Fernando's done. And I wasn't here for the Platinum Glove announcement, but I know he won that, and that's because guys like Peter Seidler believed in him, and told him, hey, man, it's okay. People make mistakes. You're a human being. You're allowed to be a human being. And that's what we need so much more of in this world, is that people are going to screw up. You have to forgive them, and you have to give them another chance.
I'll let Fernando speak for himself, but I certainly understand the feeling when Peter Seidler believes in you or says something to you, it makes you want to be better, more like Peter Seidler. I mean, he's inspiring that way. We'll play some of the audio a little bit later on. Jesse Agler joined Gwynn and Chris yesterday, and he talked about how Peter would just occasionally just send him a note about, oh, what a great home run call that was. And
it's amazing.
Just would take that time. How many employees must there be in the San Diego Padres? You can't possibly reach out and touch all of them at all times, but he said regularly he would just get notes from Peter, comments from Peter like, oh, I loved when you did this, I loved when you did that, and it was just part of what makes Peter Seidler so special.
Yeah, and for people asking, the memorial, you can go down today. It's open
now. Yeah.
It's open 6 a.m. to midnight, and leave a card or flowers or whatever. I'm heading down after the show, and just want to be there, pay my respects as well. And you can do that as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up. I was there yesterday for several hours. Met tons of Padres fans and Tier 1s who were there to pay their respects. This is your show as well. We've talked a lot this hour, Major Talk, but we want to hear from you. Call us, 833-288-0973. Your Peter Seidler stories and memories coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Guy Chris in our YouTube chat was one of the many Padres fans I met last night at Petco Park at the Memorial. And I think there were two Chris's and definitely two Jessies. There was either one or two Alex's. I'm sorry if I've lost track. There's a lot of people who came down last night to pay their respects. It's Ben and Woods. Welcome back. We're celebrating the life of Peter Seidler this morning and inviting your calls and stories, 833-288-0973. We're going to go to the phones here. It really was a a very nice memorial. If you haven't gone down there, they set it up on the steps there right at the home plate gate. And it's right in front of the wall of water, the waterfall, which is very peaceful. If you're watching our YouTube stream, you see Yu Darvish just absolutely
gutting, dude.
Heartbreaking moment as he goes and lays flowers and then bows. He and his wife bowing their head in front of the wreaths and the picture of Peter Seidler. But I mean, it wasn't really, it was organized in that they set it up nicely, but it really was the fans themselves who would come up and you'd take your turns. You'd go up and they'd, if you wanted to spend a minute or two up there just quietly, and then someone else would kind of take their place. No one crowded it. There was enough room up there to kind of have your moment and reflect and think about Peter or whatever you wanted to do. It's just well set up. And if you were thinking of going down there today, I know they're making parking is free in the tailgate lot. There's a bunch of construction, so you actually kind of have to walk all the way around by the MTS garage to come around, but you'll get there. And you don't have to bring flowers. You can just come by, and I know you're going to go by later. Bo made a absolute heartbreaking card for Peter Seidler.
It's make me weep. But when I picked him up from school yesterday, I'd been gone a couple days and was very excited to see me. And I told him the news, and he said, "Well, how old was he?" And I said, "He's 63." And he said, "Well, you're 48." And I said, "Yep." And he said, "How much older?" And I said, 15 years. And he said, "Huh." And he just kind of sat in the back while he said, "Did he have kids?" And I go, "Yeah, he did. He had three small kids." And he just kind of sat quietly. And we got home, and he said, "Can I make a card?" And I said, "Sure, please. That'd be amazing." And he sat down, and I got Taylor, and I was getting Taylor to do something. And I walked out of the room, and I came back, and he was sitting at our little desk. And he didn't want to show me. No, Dad, stay over there. But Hannah told me that he said, "Mama, how do I spell Peter Seidler?" So inside the card, he wrote Bo, Peter Seidler, and drew all these hearts and flowers. And I mean, and then he cut little yellow, diamonds and pasted them in there. It's beautiful. And he drew a big red heart on the front. And my heart was just swollen with pride. And I'm going to take that down there for him today. But, man, that kid loves the San Diego Padres so stinking much. So much. It's such a part of the fabric of our family and our lives. And, man, what a huge, huge loss. And I thought Yu Darvish's tweet, I mean, obviously the video of him and his wife bringing flowers and bowing, it gutted me. I mean, it just broke me in half. And then I saw the tweet you sent. "My heart hurts with the unfortunate news of Peter Seidler's passing. I'm sure everyone that knew him would agree with me when I say Peter was a truly wonderful human being, and being in his presence was always a blessing. He was a teacher of life and taught me countless lessons from all the interactions we had. May his beautiful soul rest in peace." Just gutting, man. Just beautiful, beautiful words from a San Diego Padre legend that is Yu Darvish.
You can tell Yu is a very thoughtful person like Peter was. I'm not surprised that they were kind of kindred spirits on the San Diego Padres. I didn't know how close they were even until yesterday, really, but that was such an unbelievable moment. Let's go to the phones. I don't know if it's going to make it any better, but if we keep going on this track, we're all going to lose it here.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
Let's go out to our phone lines, 833-288-0973. We got Dean across the country in North Carolina. Good morning, Dean.
Hey, fellas. Tough way to start the morning, huh?
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, it does a cool story about Bo. Man, kids are really the best.
They are.
Things like that. As much as it hurts, it really makes you happy to see when they respond like that. But I was thinking, and it's funny the way the conversation went with Major Garrett, because some of that stuff I was thinking about before when you guys were talking about how much Peter cared about the homelessness issue, and got me thinking, homelessness, that and the problem in San Diego and beyond, that will only get solved with people like Peter Seidler.
Correct.
That's never going to get fixed by politicians.
Never.
They say they're all about it. They'll never actually fix it. It doesn't benefit them to do so. You need Peter Seidlers in the world to step up and actually take action and fix those kind of things. And then when you guys were talking to Major about why aren't people like Peter Seidler in government leadership roles, and it's pretty simple because someone like Peter Seidler is, an uncorruptible, good person.
He's too pure for it.
Those are not the type of people that hold, politician seats. And Peter Seidler is the antithesis of that, and that's so much beyond what he meant to the Padres and to the fans, but just talking like the type of person he was, and helping on those issues specifically. That's more importantly what we lost, and we unfortunately, as the San Diego sports community, just him and Tony and Junior, all just great people that cared about the fans in the city that are just gone way too soon. So it was really, really tough to hear that, and I'm just hoping that the team and whoever takes over in leadership can just do right by him and see through what the plan is and what they got to do to win a championship for him.
It's a great, well said, man. Absolutely well said. And I just can't stress enough. The times that we talked to him, how it always came back to others, always, every time. And the mentality that he had, the stories, that have come out that he spent his time walking down and talking to people and listening to people about how they got there, what they needed. That's a different breed entirely of a human being. Many people donate money. Many people donate canned goods. Many people donate gift bags. So very few will take the time to go out and look somebody in the eye and say, how did you get here? What can I do to help you? What do you need? That is a different breed. And there's just not many of those people out there,
It's human suffering in a way that I don't believe needs to occur. With rare exceptions, homeless people have problems, whether it's mental health or physical health, or simply, especially during the pandemic, they simply ran out of money, and you see more children out there and elderly out there that and so really most cities, including San Diego, had a big step back during the pandemic because there were a lot of things that could not be done because of social distancing and just all the massive negative impacts of the pandemic. But we're largely through that now, and I believe our city, with leadership from both the private sector and the public sector, is in the early stages of seeing those numbers trend down, seeing that suffering trend down. And, it's critical to all of us. And I spend a lot of my personal time and work with really great people and we have one objective, and that's to reduce the suffering, help the most vulnerable. And I've got some optimism as we further step into 2023 that things are going to get better.
That clip was from our show when we talked to Peter at spring training earlier this year. That was day 2 of spring training. That's what he wanted to talk about.
And honestly, I think I had asked him a baseball question, and then that's what he wanted to talk about. There's a lot of fans of teams that enjoy their owners. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you've probably enjoyed, for the most part, having Mark Cuban as your owner, right? Pretty good owner. Good with a comment, good with a quip. Has done a lot of good. Also has done a lot of good in Dallas and for other people with his new prescription drug thing that he does. I think that's remarkable. But it's the humanitarian side that is the biggest loss. I mean, Peter wrote some big checks for some good players. But it's the humanitarian side. It's the how will San Diego react to be affected by his passing? And that's the ripple effect I was mentioning earlier. Like, you need to have people that are ready to step in and take those reins.
There are wealthy people who do good, a lot of them out there.
100%.
And they're usually got there as major because they're shrewd.
Yes, smart.
Very few people combine the shrewdness with the kindness and the empathy.
Correct.
Though,
It's usually one or the other.
That Peter Seidler had. It is a very unique combination, to be sure. Let's go out to our friend Ryan Cohen's on the line. 833-288-0973. Good morning, Ryan.
Morning, guys.
Hey, buddy.
I don't have anything specific to add on like what everyone else has been saying, but I think a lot of times we overuse the word hero.
Yeah.
I say it all the time about, baseball players and guys who hit the ball really far or throw the ball really hard. But I can't think of a better person than Peter Seidler when I use the word hero. Both as the owner and all the stuff that he did for people in San Diego, unhoused community, all of that. But I just want to say thank you to Peter Seidler, to his family and the ownership group for bringing in this new wave of excitement and joy to San Diego with the Padres. And one of the great joys of my life over the last few years has been my parents becoming huge Padres fans because they were fun. My little brother, my childhood friends. I'm getting texts from people I grew up with every day about the Padres. We lived together in San Diego for 18 years while I was growing up, and they didn't watch the Padres. But when we all go our separate ways after high school and the Padres become a fun, thrilling product, thanks to Peter Seidler, it brings the entire city together. And the memories from 2022, but the memories of trading for Yu Darvish in the middle of the 21 off season, bringing on that money, and the Tatis extension, and bringing in Manny, and all the things that have led up to where they are now. That's, it's like the joys and the journey. That's the fun part, and that's really thanks to Peter Seidler. And it's a horrible, horrible loss for Padres fans and for all of San Diego. It's terrible.
I loved your story yesterday when Peter emailed you and offered you his tickets. I thought that was really, really sweet and kind. And again, just the kind of person that he is and was. And I thought that was a really cool remembrance that you had of him, Ryan, and you'll have that forever, certainly. And, again, there's such massive shoes to fill. I mean, it would be like, it's massive. It's a massive legacy to try to live up to, and you just hope that somebody's able to do that.
I will say, of the people that I know, Ryan does about as good of a job of living up to the Peter Seidler ideals with what he does, Camp Kesem, and wanting to do things for others and being a positive force. And Ryan, I wanted to thank you for that. We just need to get you, a couple of $1 billion so you can buy the baseball team, and then I'll feel confident that the Padres are in good hands in the future.
The right hands, yes, sir.
That's one of the best compliments I've ever received. So thank you very, very much. I take that to heart.
Thanks, Ryan.
We love you, bro.
That opens up a line, 833-288-0973. We're going to take a quick timeout. I can get to more of your calls and memories of Peter Seidler. There's a comment here in the chat I want to get to that involves Tony Gwynn from Elisa. Want to talk about that as well. We'll get to all of that right back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back to Ben and Woods. Our phone lines are open at 833-288-0973 as we reflect on Peter Seidler. And I saw this comment, Woods, from Elisa in the chat. She said, I haven't felt a sports loss like this since Tony. And it got me thinking because I was on the air the morning that Tony Gwynn died.
So was
and it
I.
was absolutely devastating.
Horrible.
And I started thinking about Peter Seidler, and I realized while Tony was taken from us even younger than Peter, I really only knew Peter for the last 4 or 5 years. We did not get enough Peter Seidler.
We didn't.
At all. I mean, just barely a taste of we were just starting to really appreciate so much about Peter Seidler.
He was just getting started, man.
And he's gone. And, obviously I enjoyed every single moment of Tony Gwynn's baseball career, and it was such a devastating loss. And while they're both towering San Diego figures, I equate Tony with joy and excellence. They were both kind people. Peter, I equate with empathy and obviously caring and what he has done for the community. Two giants, of course, but it did get me thinking that, yeah, it was 63, but I only knew Peter for a few years here. That's it. Not enough time at all.
Yeah, we sat down with him a couple of times. Would obviously run into him at the ballpark a bunch. The last interview we had with him at spring training was by far my favorite. I mean, the bitter cold out there, him kind of standing around, moving from one foot to the other as we had to wait for a long commercial break to get to him. And I'm just sitting there wishing I could make it warmer for him.
Yeah, we're all big husky guys.
Yeah.
This was even before my fat loss, so I was very husky. He's, of course, not. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, it's got to be freezing.
Blowing into his hands.
Peter, you own
all of this.
You can. Do you want to?
Can't you just
pick everything up?
Hire
We'll go
someone to
inside
carry a heater behind you?
and he sat there and we did 30 minutes with him or whatever, and it was so incredible. It was so kind. I was so glad I got that picture with him, the mustache twins, and me asking him about his mustache and him saying, I couldn't shave it if I wanted to. My wife loves it so much that I have to keep this mustache.
When did you make the call, though?
Yeah,
what was the decision
this come about?
Went into it?
Well, the quick backstory, I never had grown a mustache before, and I participated in the great Movember Men's Health month where men are, for good causes, asked to grow a mustache, and I did it, and really at the inspiration of my 8-year-old daughter. And my 2 daughters and my wife seem to like it, and I tell them it's day to day, so we'll see. But I'm having fun with it.
Mrs. Seidler, though, said don't come home without it. You have to
it's like the American Express card.
Yeah, you don't come home without it. She's a fan. It makes me cry. Honestly, I remember that day so vividly.
So Deadwood. I mean,
it looks so badass.
It needs to belong in the Old West in some OK Corral shootout with that mustache.
That's just one of those memories that you don't realize it at the time. You know it's special and you know it's great because it's really the first time I think we sat down with him. We talked to him on the phone, which was awesome. But to sit down with him in his presence and again to hear and see in his face how kind he was, how much he enjoyed himself at that interview. We just had it was just a great time.
Paul, you actually met him years before us at your old radio station.
So the first time, I was thinking about it yesterday, the first time I met Peter Seidler is one of my all-time favorite moments with Peter Seidler, and it was 2017. We were at the old station. Well, I was at the old station. You guys weren't there yet. And I was doing nights with Kevin Acey, and we went from 6 to 9 p.m. every night and found out that Peter would listen to the show every night when he was taking one of those walks that you've heard about, especially over the last 24 hours. And Kevin arranged for Peter to come by the studio for an hour or two. And he was a partner. He was a managing partner. Ron Fowler still was kind of the guy in charge for the team. So I'd never met Peter, never spoken to him. And he showed up to the radio station. I went outside to go let him into the building. And here was this guy wearing a dress shirt a business dress shirt that was probably 4XL. Like, I mean, just so hanging down to his knees. He had a tie that was untied hanging around his neck, and he was wearing pajama bottoms and loafers.
Facing.
And he's just sitting on the other side of the glass doors like this.
You're like,
just
is
waiting.
this him?
And I go, okay, where's Peter? I go, what is happening?
You're one of the owners of the San Diego Padres.
So I bring him into the studio, and we're talking to him, and I don't remember if it's on the air or off the air, but we asked him, we go, Peter, what's going on here? What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we wearing here, bud?
And he tells us, well, I haven't gone home yet, but it was bring your dad to school day for my little girl, and I let her dress me today, and that's what she chose, so that's what I wore today.
That's a very Woods thing right there too.
I just threw my hands up and go,
that's it.
I love this guy.
Just incredible, man. People are talking about in the chat, the most humble billionaire of all time. Truly is. I've met a few in my day, and they're not all great. They're not.
No, he would have made the worst episode of Succession.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, he just does not. He doesn't fit the mold, and doesn't fit the mold of a lot of people. There's just very few people like him out there. That is amazing. Yeah, and it just breaks my heart again, thinking about his kids and now that they've lost their, for us, he was this iconic owner. For that, it's just dad. It's dad.
He's got such a big family. A lot of people didn't realize that he is one of 10 siblings. He has nine brothers and sisters, and he was one of the older ones. He has Tom, we know, who's one of his younger brothers. He has brothers even younger than Tom. I mean, I think all the way down into their 40s. He's got brothers. His mom is still with us, and heart goes out to her as well. You should never have to outlive one of your children, of course. But he's got that extended Seidler O'Malley family that it goes all the way. I think he has relatives in Australia who are part of Seidler Equity Partners as well. One of his brothers kind of manages the business down there. So it's a wide-ranging Seidler family that is grieving today.
No question about it. I emailed Tom yesterday, not expecting a response back. Just wanted to share with him.
I wanted to reach out to him. I didn't have words.
So yeah,
I
trust me. It's such a hard thing to do. I applaud you for doing it. I don't want to add to any of the issues. I don't want to feel like anyone has to get back, but I think it's great that you did reach out.
Tom has done so much for us. So much. And in fact, I was thinking about it too. We owe a lot of our success to Peter, to Ron Fowler, to Tom Seidler. Mm-hmm. All of those people down there have helped this show in more ways than you will ever know. And that is, I have a lot of gratitude for them, a lot, because again, we weren't supposed to be here at 97.3 The Fan, and that was from a lot of help from some of those very people. So just an immeasurable amount of gratitude I have for Ron and for Peter and for Tom and all of the people down there. It's immeasurable.
They also
saved my life.
They also always have let us be us.
Yes, always.
And have never used what is, a considerable amount of influence that they can wield if they wanted to. If they wanted to stick their thumb on, hey, we want you to talk about this, we don't want you to talk about this, it would be hard to push back because of, their stature in the community and, the fact that the Padres are really the game in town, but they've never done that. They have always encouraged us to be us and be honest in our opinions about the team and our passion for the team. And Peter was just like that, just as Ron was before him as the owner of the Padres. And you can't understand as a radio host how much that helps and how meaningful that is to us in our job.
There are people out there that love to say, well, you guys are the flagship. You have to carry water for the team. Right. And we've said several times over the years, hey, they've never once told us, hey, lighten up. Hey,
please go easy on us.
Can you go with this narrative instead? And that remains true today.
Yeah.
And I just told you the story of when I first met Peter. That same day, that same night, I was walking him out of the building, and he goes, you guys do a good job. I listen every night when I'm walking
Domes you out
around town, and I go, oh,
yeah, it makes you sick.
I go, oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
At that point, there was a discussion going on that time about possibly changing the uniforms to brown, which they ended up doing 2 years later. And I go, oh, I hope you weren't like upset with some of the comments we made. And he goes, hit us harder.
Yeah,
he goes,
they love it.
I swear to God, like that's what he said to me.
It.
He said, if we're playing like crap, say we're playing like crap. Like, you owe that to the fans. We want our fans to hear that. Be yourselves. Be true. Be fair, whatever that looks like to you in your mind. And not Ron Fowler said the same thing.
Yep.
But Peter Seidler said that to my face that night, and I've always held on to that.
Ron actually encouraged us to just pound the team from time to time, so that was great. So yeah, that narrative has always bugged me, but it doesn't bug me so much today.
No.
Just because we know it, I know it, you've heard it, I've heard it, Ben's heard it. It's a special place. It really is a special place, and run by very special people.
If you're on the line, stay there. We're still sharing memories, stories, thoughts on Peter Seidler. You can join us. We got a couple of open lines, 833-288-0973. Back
got
with
some time in the next segment. I want to hear Jesse Agler was on Quinn and Chris yesterday.
That was good stuff.
And I got a couple of clips from that. He was out.
Yeah, I was listening to that interview. It's terrific, as you would expect Jesse to be. So we'll get to some of that audio as well. Coming up next here, Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, good morning, guys. It is Woodsy. If you are in a situation right now where you need to get some cash out of your home, the equity you built up, I've got Loan Pronto in mind for you. It's the easiest way to access the equity in your home. It is their revolutionary Express Equity line of credit, and you can get cash out of your home in as fast as 5 days. Another great part is 9 out of 10 homeowners will not even need an appraisal. So if you are a little bit underwater with credit cards, or you want to do a home improvement project, they can definitely help you there. You've built up that equity. They have a way to get it out for you. Very, very simple to do. So call now. See how easy it is to get a lot of cash in about 5 days. Check out Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit by calling 619-207-4336. Once again, 619-207-4336, or very simply, go to loanpronto.com. Get the process started today. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Going to get out to another phone call or two, and then we'll hear from Jesse Agler and some of his thoughts on Peter Seidler. It's Ben and Woods. Sad morning in San Diego. Sad morning for Padres fans. Sad morning across baseball. Rob Manfred released a statement. Saw at least a couple of teams release statements as well.
Yeah, a bunch did.
Dodgers,
actually.
I saw.
Yep.
Nationals, a couple of others as well about the loss. Even though I know there were owners out there who didn't agree with Peter's spending on his team, I don't think there's, again, anyone who didn't like Peter Seidler, the human being that he was.
Yeah, I didn't care much for some of the tweets that I saw yesterday. They bummed me out. Look, Jason Stark's a Hall of Famer. We've had him on this show. I think the guy's otherworldly talent, but I think he missed the mark yesterday. Well, when he tweeted about it, I thought Ken Rosenthal.
Jason Stark's a bad guy. I think he had a bad moment.
Jason Stark is. He's not a bad guy at all. Like, he's a really, really good dude, and that's what really surprised me about the tweet that I saw from him yesterday. That says, "Rest in peace to Peter Seidler. No owner in baseball was a greater cheerleader for his city and team." Stop there. You're done. Beautiful. It's great. Thank you so much, Jason. He says. He may have spent above his team's means, but he refused to accept the popular notion that San Diego was just another small market that couldn't compete. It's hard not to admire that. So in a backhanded compliment sort of way, I think we were all just, the nerves were a little bit exposed yesterday.
I mean, in total honesty, if you're not in our community, I'm sure no one read that in Texas or New York and went, "Oh, that was a gratuitous shot." It was probably just nod and move on. It was kind of us because the way we were feeling, I think, yesterday about it. Let's go back out to the phones here for a minute or two. Mike in Mission Valley. Mike, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Good morning, Mike.
What's up, boys? How we doing? It's been a long time.
Doing good, man.
Just wanted to share a quick story. Pre-pandemic, so I guess it was pre-time he was the actual chairman, I was lucky enough to sit down and be in the same place as him and have a beer with him. And Peter, everybody said he's unassuming, he's super humble and all that. And that was at the time they were, the fan experience was great. There was the minors was doing great. We were getting ready to change into the brown. Things were looking up in terms of the fan experience. And I had just, a couple of years before, just moved back in town from living in LA. And my wife and I bought season tickets after the Chargers left. And so I said to him, "Hey, Peter, man, thank you so much, for the fan experience. It's great. I know that, we're trying to get better, but the fan experience is great. I love going to the ballpark." And he cuts me off. And he goes, "I don't give an S about the fan experience. I just want to effing win." Deadpan, and I was like, "You know what, Peter?
Whoa.
Appreciate you. Thank you." And I knew right away at that point, it gave me hope. It gave me, as a San Diegan for my entire life, a San Diego, fan, that was the first time I've literally had faith in ownership, in this city. And it was he was just so amazing and just so humble. But he was cutthroat, dude. He wanted to win.
I love it.
He did not care about anything else. And the best thing about him to me is that he's the type of guy that, great, you can put your money where your mouth is, fine. But he was out there. He was a steward. He understood what it was like to be a steward and a shepherd for the fans, for the team. No other owner understands that. And he understood not just putting your money where your mouth is in terms of being a neighborhood member. He had his house downtown, right? He has Petco Park, but he was part of that community. He was ingrained, and he was a participant, an active participant in improving the community. He was a great neighbor, a great friend, a great owner. We love you, Peter. Rest in power, my friend.
That was
Mike,
great,
thank
man.
you for the call.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's funny that you bring that up because obviously the Padres do fan experience really, really well. And I'm sure that tone is set somewhere, and Peter has good people on it. But I don't really remember him ever talking about concerts at Gallagher Square or, making the acoustics better or anything. All I really remember him talking about is how are we going to win a World Series? That's what he really wanted to talk about. That's what he cared about, in addition to the community, the homeless crisis. But when it came to the baseball team, the concessions weren't really on his mind that much. The sight lines, I don't think was something he thought about a ton. He just wanted to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the fan experience continues to improve every day, and I think what fans in this town have realized, it's a lot better of an experience when you're winning. That's what he realized. He said it to us. If you build a winner, people will come. They absolutely will, and they did, and they showed up in droves this season. Third in attendance in little old San Diego, third behind the Yankees and the Dodgers. That's remarkable. It's remarkable.
Both places with 10 million plus people to draw from.
Correct. And he was absolutely right in that. And if they keep that going, and they keep a winning product on the field, there's no reason that has to change. I think San Diegans and Padres fans certainly, yes, it's nice to go to Petco Park. It's lovely, but they don't really care about the dot race anymore. They don't care about the Anchorman relay. They want to see a winning product on the field. And nobody understood that more than him.
I want to hear from Jesse Agler, the voice of the Padres. We'll get some of his thoughts right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by BMW. Got a collision on westbound 54 just before Rayo Drive. Everything over to the right shoulder. Traveling on Mass Boulevard on-ramp to East 52. Watch out for some wood debris reported in lanes. Now through November 30th, during the BMW Road Home Sales Event, lease an all-electric 2024 BMW i5 eDrive 40 for $719 per month for 36 months, with $7,069 due at signing. Details at SoCalBMW.com. And Kelly Danick with Den & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So I was driving downtown, down to the memorial at Petco Park yesterday. I happened to be in the car when Gwen and Chris were on and talking to Jesse Agler, the voice of the Padres. And, it's one of those things. I couldn't get out of the car. I had to listen to the whole thing. And Jesse always offers such a great perspective. But, obviously Jesse came at this from even a different perspective than us. Jesse actually worked for Peter Seidler, technically. He was an employee of the Padres. Peter Seidler owned the Padres. Jesse worked for him. So it kind of framed his relationship. But as you'd expect, Peter treated his employees just like he did everybody else. Amazing with class and dignity. And this is a little bit of Jesse on what it was like to work for Peter Seidler.
It was kind of a pleasure to be able to have being the employee of an owner like that.
It's a dream. It's a dream. And I was thinking about this today. And many of my conversations with Peter were like the conversations that like Tony and I would have off the air, or Chris, when you stop by and I see you, like the conversations we'd have about the team. When you work in sports, and you guys know this, but for the listeners, especially if you work for a team or in one specific sport, obviously huge baseball fan growing up. And Tony, your perspective is a little bit different because you basically have lived in Major League Baseball your entire life. But, for me, my fandom changed when I began working in professional sports a little bit. And so the way I feel about the Padres is, quite frankly and honestly, a little bit different than the way I feel about when I watch Miami Hurricanes football. When I watch Miami Hurricanes football, I'm an unglued maniac, okay? and I'm sure Tony with the Lakers, right? Yes. Or Chris with the Dolphins, we have, when you're a full 100% fan of something, right, it's a very different thing than when you work for a team. But I tell you what, Peter didn't lose that with the Padres. Not only did he work for the team, he owned the team. It was he was as invested literally as any of us in their success, but he never lost that fan's perspective. And that is unbelievably rare and so refreshing. And it made the conversations with him so fun because it really did feel like any of us, you didn't feel like you were talking to the owner, I guess is what I'm saying. When you talk to Peter about the team, he'd be, he'd come up to you and be like, whew, so what do you think about the eighth inning? And it was you'd start talking about it. And, halfway through my rambling, I remember who I'm speaking to. And I'd be like, well, what do you think about the eighth inning? That's far more important than what I think. And I mean, just such genuine warmth and love for the game and for people. I did the thing which I know we all do when we lose somebody these days, and I looked back through texts and emails, just to kind of, feel something. And I don't know if that's like the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but my God, like it just reminded me what an incredibly positive and supportive person Peter Seidler was. My career here began early on in Peter's tenure with the Padres. And so like in a weird way, maybe we kind of grew together, working here in San Diego. He arrived in 2012. I arrived in 2014. And looking back, I saw some of the early emails he sent me. Really, you could tell I was a young guy kind of finding my feet, and he would just shoot me unsolicited notes of support.
Yeah.
Hey, I was walking on the beach tonight and listening to you guys. You sounded great. Hey, great home run call, stuff like that. And I mean, gosh, like what an unbelievably unnecessary but kind, meaningful thing to be able to do. And that's just how he was with everybody. Just a tremendous.
So that's Jesse Agler, and they went on, and when you dream as a baseball fan, like what kind of owner would you like to have of your professional sports franchise? Because we've seen all different kinds, championship winning ones, the Robert Krafts of the world, or Jerry Buss, and they, Mark Cuban you brought up earlier. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, but kind of if you went into a lab and really wanted to create like the perfect owner, I think it would look a lot like Peter Seidler.
I think so too.
Jesse talked about that with Quinn and Chris yesterday.
He was kind, he was warm, but boy was he competitive.
Yeah.
That's like the perfect mix. I mean, literally, if you ask like a fan of any sports team, hey, if you could create the perfect owner for your favorite team in a lab, you're pretty much going to come up with what Peter Seidler was. Someone who thought like a fan, who spent, like a fan would spend, who kind of
Right.
exuded the positivity required to shepherd the thing through the ups and the downs. He understood the roller coaster nature of it, in a way that was maybe even beyond like the usual fan perspective. Like he's been in pro baseball basically his entire life because of his family and the Dodgers, and so he's seen so many ups and downs, in kind of an intimate way. And so that I think afforded him, like this perspective of being able to zoom out. And like 2021, for instance, when that really went badly, or this year, and obviously we didn't get the opportunity to speak with him the tail end of this year because he wasn't well. But I remember conversations and emails and texts, after the disappointment of 2021. And while he was as devastated as I think everybody was in town, he understood that it was part of the larger picture. And, sure enough, what happened last year in 22, the Padres go all the way to the championship series in the National League. And, he enjoyed it so much. He wants it so badly for this fan base, for this community. I think really at the end of the day, perhaps as much as anything, he took his responsibility of sort of being the shepherd of this team so seriously. And he knows what it means to this fan base. He knows what it means to the people in this community. When I say community, I mean, down, into Baja, but up north, out east, like he understood the breadth of the thing. And, I think especially in the wake of the Chargers leaving, understanding just how much pride we all take here in the success of this organization. And he wanted to make it as successful as possible.
God, that was so effing good. He is so good at what he does.
He has a way with words.
He definitely has a way with words. Texted with him a little bit yesterday. And just beautifully said. And guy tweeted in, said, yeah, it's nice to get an attaboy from the big boss every now and then. Yeah, you're not wrong, man. When the big boss is Peter Seidler, it's got to be a pretty trippy feeling for Jesse Agler. But, with so much uncertainty now going forward, I mean, I think, you asked me the question earlier, Ben, did I read anything into the spending this year, and I saw a lot of that sentiment of, man looks in the mirror, realizes, I may not have much time left. I want to do some of the things I want to do. I don't know if I can connect those dots necessarily. I don't know that that's not the case. But
Could very well be the case, but I still believe that every move was calculated.
And I think he would have spent money anyway. I mean, he said it before. Like I have. Where's that sticker?
Can't take it with you. Yeah. One of the tier ones brought these stickers that he made. That little Peter Seidler's with his hands stretched out. That says, "I kind of like spending money."
Right. I think didn't he say that on the show? I kind of like spending money. You can't take it with you. And I think knowing what he was up against. I don't know that it was like, you better go win me a World Series or else. I think it was, what do you feel we need to do to get better? And that's what they did. And so, listen, I admire that very, very much, very, very much. And I think especially fans of sports teams in this city really admired that about Peter. The commitment to not want to leave, not look for greener pastures, just want to win here and here alone.
And not necessarily do it responsibly.
Correct. And not by pinching pennies and pinching
going
pennies.
Against the grain.
Going against the grain a bit of a maverick. That was my favorite part of it.
Pissing off other owners.
I told every one of those owners.
Hey, man, you're making us look bad.
Yeah. I told every one of those owners to suck it. All of them, in the offseason. Now, we didn't get there. We didn't make the playoffs. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they were right and we were wrong. It just means that it didn't break our way this year. And I don't think that was due to any fault of Peter Seidler's, that's for sure.
This hour on Ben and Woods is brought to you by Smart and Final. Score a Turkey Day touchdown when you shop your whole feast in one trip, and that's it. It's Smart and Final. Use promo code SFThanks for free delivery on your next order. Now, you've heard some of our Peter Seidler interviews and sound bites from the past. I can't believe we've gone 2 hours. We haven't played the most famous Peter Seidler interview that has ever taken place here on 97.3 The Fan.
When I tell you that I listened to this at least 10 times in its entirety yesterday with the biggest freaking grin on my face the whole time, it's the best.
The amazing...
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
Adam Klug
Best
interview
piece of audio
with
ever.
Peter Seidler. We'll come back with that for you next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Odyssey app.
1 year soon, the baseball gods will smile on the San Diego Padres, and we will have a parade. With a professional sports franchise, the franchise can have an outsized impact on the community in a positive way, and that's as important as anything we do, trying to be a good corporate citizen in San Diego, and every year trying to be better at it. It's human suffering in a way that I don't believe needs to occur. With rare exceptions, homeless people have problems, whether it's mental health or physical health, or simply, especially during the pandemic, they simply ran out of money, and you see more children out there. It's critical to all of us, and I spend a lot of my personal time, and we have one objective, and that's to reduce the suffering, help the most vulnerable. And I've got some optimism as we further step into 2023 that things are going to get better. Our overarching goal is one thing, and that's to win a world championship and bring a parade and the title to San Diego.
You're a Zen guy. As someone who's not really, I don't have a shred of Zen in me, how does one achieve that kind of inner peace?
Oh, I feel very fortunate. I've had 2 big battles with cancer, and I've seen a lot of people suffer in that area as well, and I'm very fortunate to be here and enjoy it, and to be around all the thrills of baseball and hang out with guys like you and fans like we're talking to today. But just to state what people say, but really try to take it to heart, to make the most out of every day and enjoy it, have some fun, laugh, and hopefully make a positive difference. Owning a franchise, there's nothing like it. You know, the thrills are nightly, or the disappointments, and you feel that every night, and the great thing about baseball is if you lost last night, we're back at it again today, and we're going to win today.
And on a personal level, I do thank every single one of you, whether you're a young child or somebody that's been following baseball for 80 years, whether you consume it on an iPhone or leave all the electronics like I do in the car and just relax and watch a baseball game. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful tribute, Paulie, that you put together last night. All taken from moments that we had with Peter Seidler. It just really, really beautiful. Thank you to Bobby Cressy for giving us the music that we could play without getting sued on you. Bobby may sue us. He's very litigious. Very litigious. But thank you to Bobby for that, and Paulie, great job on that. Welcome back, Ben and Woods 97.3 The Fan. Obviously a bit of a different show today. It's great to be back with you guys. And when I got that news yesterday, my immediate thought was, okay, how do we do our very best to honor the man that Peter was? And I think we've done that so far. I think that all the callers with their stories and talking about what he's meant to the San Diego community, I hope for peace for his family, his wife, his small kids. I texted Eric Grupner, telling him how sorry I am. I know they worked very, very closely together. And Eric said thank you. And they just have to be struggling down there right now. It's such a monumental loss. But I know you guys are feeling it out there as well. We're here for the next couple hours, taking your calls, doing a tribute to a great, great man who we all loved very much.
They're talking about Peter Seidler up on MLB Network right now, and saw so many written tributes to Peter in different places. Our friend Ryan Phillips wrote,
he wrote a great piece.
one.
Great piece.
Bernie Wilson wrote one for the Associated Press. Bernie's going to be with us at the bottom of the hour, and it takes a lot to earn Bernie's respect.
Yeah, he
absolutely. He does not offer it easily, that's for sure. And Peter earned Bernie and the rest of our respect here in San Diego. No doubt about that. As for the business of the San Diego Padres, they will get back to it here in a few days. Yeah. The offseason will go on, and they're going to have to make the decisions that they were going to have to make before Peter passed away. We will get back to it as well. All we've really been told is that probably won't get a new manager named until next week now. They're going to take a few days as an organization to grieve and give it some time. I'd imagine they're already locked in or in the final stages of whatever they're going to do, but it wouldn't be appropriate to announce or try to, take away or any distractions from what's going on right now. So we'll wait a few days on that. We probably will get a Cy Young award for Blake Snell today, and you can be okay celebrating that. That's all right. Peter would celebrate that, the heck out of that today if it does happen for Blake. And yesterday Skip won a Manager of the Year. We should congratulate him for that as well. That's a great honor for him. His first season as manager of the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, Skip Schumacher won for the Marlins, and Brandon Hyde won for the Orioles. Two massively deserving winners. Both teams picked to finish near the bottom of their very difficult divisions, at least preseason difficult divisions. And kudos to those guys. Skip, obviously, in his first year as manager, winning that is such an honor. And I know he was really thrilled about that as well. They had a cool video that his daughter took of him very stoically sitting at the table. And I guess there's a phone call where they announce the winner, and he did not move. He just sat and listened as they announced it, and then you see the smile creep across his face. So congrats to Skip, obviously a former Padre coach as well. And he texted me yesterday about Peter Seidler's passing as well on my drive home. And he was pretty broken up about it as well. Got a lot of messages yesterday from people that just wanted an outlet. So that's what this show is today. You can call us 833-288-0973. Share your memories, share your concerns, share whatever you want.
The idea of being a baseball fan, and Peter understood this, is that you're chasing those great moments, those wins, whether it's individual accomplishments or, more importantly, the team accomplishments, ultimately winning the World Series, that goal that Peter was chasing for his whole career. So it was pretty clear that the best moment of Peter's ownership of the San Diego Padres, and he would have agreed this as well, was, as he called it, slaying the dragon, taking down the Dodgers in the division series last October. And it really did lead to one of the most iconic moments
ever.
San Diego history.
Yeah,
possibly,
San Diego history.
When our boss, Adam Klug, using his media credential, wandered into the champagne-soaked celebration in the locker room at Petco Park on that rainy October evening with his tape recorder or phone or whatever he was using to try to get interviews, and saw Peter, who was standing, he was standing in the corner for most of that celebration, kind of just arms crossed, just like enjoying, taking it in, soaking it in, watching Manny spray everybody like a maniac with champagne all over the place, and just appreciating, like, this is why I did this. This is why I got into this.
What a feeling.
And
man.
of course, Adam goes up to him and disturbs that piece.
Correct.
To record this absolute gem of an interview.
Banger.
I'm here with the owner of the Padres, Peter Seidler. Peter, how does it feel to advance to the NLCS?
It feels great. The players, the fans, they both showed up in the biggest possible ways all season long, but especially these last two nights, and the come from behind clinching game today, it could not have been better. Congratulations to our players.
Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers?
Oh, no.
Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers?
A little
bit. Oh, boy.
It's the voice cracking for me that gets me, and the first one is extra sweet. That guy.
Poor Peter.
Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers?
What was that?
Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers?
Dodgers! Murdered me. When I heard that the following Monday, I just go, what is wrong with you? First of all, why are you screaming at him? You're screaming in his face because he's got the camera and it's right in his grill. And he's who says, is it extra sweet? That guy, I'm telling you. He's something else, man. He really is. But
when you listen to it, I just picture Peter. He's like, was it extra sweet? And then Peter,
looking around.
Who's this guy?
What? Who are you?
Now he's actually just like leaning in. He couldn't hear him. But I hear it, and I'm like, he's like, who is this? Who is this kid? Who's he think he is talking to me like that?
Do we have the video? The video's somewhere out there.
I just put it back out on X.
Oh, man.
No, October 15th, 2022 at 11 p.m.
I mean, if Peter didn't snap at that, obviously he was a very kind and patient man.
I would have punched Adam right in the nose. Get out of my face. Get this camera out of my face. It was...
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
Boy, he's got a voice for radio, doesn't he? Sweet and soothing. So sultry at times. I love that man.
Jesse Agler should be very, very afraid.
Very afraid that Adam Klug's going to take his job.
We talked about some of the tributes that I've read. Obviously, Jesse's verbal tribute, and we do ours with words as well. The visual tributes have been amazing. Paul, you've got that mural that was the ground floor mural guys went to Stone Kettner down in Little Italy. And last night this was up. If you're on our YouTube stream, you can see it. But if you're not on your YouTube stream, if you're downtown, you can stop by Stone there on Kettner and got a mural of Peter right on the side of the building there right away. Thank you, Peter Seidler, it says, and thought that was very cool.
What a great pick, too. Yeah. I thought one of the kindest tributes I read was from, of all people, Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
He tweeted, Peter Seidler cared so deeply about his family, his community, and Major League Baseball. His giving knew no limits, and he did everything he could to bring San Diego the championship it so richly deserves. He did everything first class at all times and treated everyone with utmost respect. He will be missed in so many ways by so many people. That's how you do a tribute.
A-Rod will surprise you sometimes.
The hell out of you sometimes.
He'll make the biggest missteps, and all of a sudden, sometimes he'll look like he's actually a thoughtful guy, and he actually is aware of things that are going on occasionally.
Yeah, no question about it. It was really, really beautiful. Well, I was driving home yesterday, and it was kind of a long drive from L.A., and I was thinking about everything and listening to some sports radio. I checked out Coach's show for a minute, and then I just put on my shuffle on my iPod, and a song came on. It's under my liked songs, and I went, oh, my God, that is a perfect song to play tomorrow for Peter Seidler. So I want to play it for you guys. You haven't heard this yet. It's really, really beautiful, and it's called Wrapped in My Memory.
If you want to join us, we've got some open phone lines right now, 833-288-0973. You had an interaction with Peter Seidler. He just has some thoughts you want to share. This is kind of our just community together healing kind of morning. I mean, you're not going to heal right away, but just this is what we do. We just all get together with the tier ones, and it's a sad moment for Padres fans and for baseball fans and for all of San Diego. So the phone lines are open, 833-288-0973. If you want to join us. We'll have Bernie Wilson, who wrote one of the great obituaries, tributes to Peter, coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Earlier, we had on Major Garrett. He was terrific as well, sharing some of his thoughts on Peter, the story, how he first met Peter, just kind of wild and crazy, and they went on and had a pretty close relationship, I would say, over the years that he shared a little bit with us about that, Woods.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and he started laughing, and he's like, I texted him, and he goes, I was trying to hold it together. He goes, but I feel like I needed a laugh, and I said, oh, absolutely, man. That you have to do it. You have to laugh through it. And somebody texted yesterday and said, so are you guys going to do shout out to his family? And I said, I think that's inappropriate. And they said, I think Peter would have probably liked that more than anything. And I said, okay, if you think so, then, I mean, we really don't have a choice but to send out the only way we know how.
Shout out to his family.
The great Peter Seidler.
Absolutely.
63 years old. It feels wrong.
Like
I know. I
cringe a little bit,
it
but
felt wrong.
it would be wrong if we didn't do it as well.
But they said Peter would like it. And I go, you know what? I agree.
He had a devilish little side to him, for sure.
Did. Absolutely did.
Let's go back out to the phones here. We got Mark, ENRB. Mark, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, good morning. Sad day.
Yeah.
Man, I was shocked. I heard it yesterday. Peter had an infectious smile, what I always saw on him. And you don't see that a lot with ownership across the league. I really feel like he truly cared about the fans and the players and, San Diego as a whole. And I just think he's, severely going to be missed, sorely missed.
No question. There's just no question about it. There's no question. We talked early in the show about the ripple effect of what's going to happen. And, I don't know that there's ever a wrong time to ask the question. I know that the Padres, again, have paused baseball activities right now. I mean, while they paused baseball activities, though, Blake Snell, Josh Hader rejected their qualifying offers yesterday, which was expected. That was the deadline and all that. They needed to do that. Everybody that got a qualifying offer this year rejected their qualifying offer, so they're all going to hit free agency, which means, you get draft picks back. But as far as I was thinking about it yesterday. I thought, oh, God, I bet they were really close to announcing a manager, today, tomorrow. And I think now that would feel very icky and awkward, the day after or even 2 days after Peter Seidler passes away. You bring up Mike Schilt and, do the whole rigmarole. And I think it's probably the right move to wait. They probably know who they're going to hire, and you go from there. But I don't think there's a wrong time to be curious about, your favorite baseball team. I don't look at anybody and say, hey, now's not the time for that. I myself am very curious about the next steps. I'm very curious about how this team moves forward.
Can we be honest and all admit that we thought the same thing yesterday as Padres fans? Is there a way that this can galvanize the team for 2024 to win one for Peter next year? It occurred to me that the last time the Padres lost a fairly beloved owner was 1983, late in 83, early in 84, and they wore the Ray Kroc RAK patches on their sleeves for the entire 84 season on their way to a World Series appearance, a National League Championship Series win over the Chicago Cubs. There would be no better tribute to Peter Seidler than to go out and win. It's what he wanted more than anything else. He made that abundantly clear during his time with us here in San Diego, and that would be the greatest thing. Now, it's easier said than done. The goal has always been to win a World Series, and you can't just magically snap your fingers because Peter is gone and say, now we're really trying. to make it happen this year. But it would be an incredible tribute to Peter. I was just kind of planning to put his PS on the, I don't even know what it was Peter Seidler's middle name. Does he have a middle initial? Do you put a patch on the jersey for next year?
We talked about that's probably going to happen.
We talked about a statue already. I think it would be kind of cool if, like, the Padres, all their communications at the end, it just says PS, win it in 24, or something like that. Just like you always have, just like a postscript, but also Peter Seidler at the end as being your hashtag, your symbol for the 2024 season coming up.
Yeah, and there's no question there will be. There will be a patch, and the guys will wear it. And I think I thought the same thing. I actually probably selfishly thought, man, if he was sick last year, it would have really been nice for them to at least make the playoffs this season. Obviously, it didn't happen, and
made me a little mad. Actually, a little more mad for a second.
Me too.
Didn't and had such a disappointing year.
Being completely honest, man, that's exactly right. I felt the same thing, and I think that's okay. That's okay to feel that. It absolutely is okay to feel that, and I thought the exact same thing, Ben, and thought, man, come on, guys. But I actually mentioned it to my wife. My wife said, well, as she usually does, put me in my place. And she said, just because someone's sick doesn't mean they're going to start playing better baseball. And I said, you know what? She's been following the game now for about 5 years. I've been following it for about 40 years. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. And I am absolutely wrong.
And honestly, if the problem is that you were pressing too much, if that was true of any of the players, knowing that we've got to do it now, we've got to win it, we don't know how much time Peter has left, if that was any part of the equation, could even make things worse, honestly, if that was part of what was going on, and we don't know what was happening or what players were aware of behind the scenes. I mean, everyone was aware that at the end of the season that Peter wasn't healthy, but we didn't know if he was getting better on the road to recovery or where he kind of stood in his medical issues.
And I saw people saying, well, obviously that's why we didn't sell at the deadline. That's why we didn't unload Snell and unload Hader then. And I can't really connect those dots. We had just swept the Texas Rangers, and we all of us, really kept feeling that there may be, you still had a half of a season ahead of you. Now, the one thing I would say is
they did end up finishing a game out of a playoff spot.
I know.
At the end, it's not like they weren't out of it technically.
Exactly,
and they were right. They were in it.
And the thing I thought was, well, if that was really the case, I think you would have added more than Rich Hill and G-Man Choi and Garrett Cooper and Scott Barlow. I think you would have gone after a premium pitcher or two and really tried to make a good run. It just never materialized. It never materialized last season. And as much as it sucked for all of us, I know it sucked more for Peter Seidler. I know that he wanted this team to make a run. He really believed in them, loved them. You see his relationship with the players that he has. We told you about him and Fernando. We've seen Paulie took the picture of his arm, Manny with his arm around him. One of my favorite pictures ever taken of Peter. He was just so proud to be the owner of the Padres, and it was not just some way to make money or to funnel money somewhere. I got to spend it, so I might as well do this. No, it was a different mentality entirely.
He felt a responsibility.
The responsibility.
He was the steward of the Padres, not the owner of the Padres. The community really owns the team. He was just temporarily holding on to it for a little while.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The legacy of Peter Seidler, we'll discuss it further. Bernie Wilson from the Associated Press wrote one of the many amazing tributes, obituaries for Peter Seidler yesterday. He's going to join us when we come back here with more Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. If you've been listening, you know we've been focused on Peter Seidler today, and we've set aside some of our normal segments like Don't Do This and Take on Woods. We'll get back to those. The one thing we can't set aside is our biggest fan contest because we do have another name to call. It will be at 9:15. If you hear your name called, make sure you call us back in 10 minutes to qualify for that grand prize night in the Odyssey Suite. Next season at a Padres game with 20 of your closest friends and family and all of the fan hosts. But you have to register to win. Go to 973thefan.sd.com/biggest fan to get your name to the hopper. Then listen 3 times a day, 9:15, 11:30, 5 o'clock for those biggest fan names to be called. Got Bernie Wilson from the Associated Press. He was writing about Peter Seidler yesterday. Going to join us right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Couple stalled vehicles in the South Bay, westbound 905 at the southbound 5. Looks like that may be partially in lanes. And West 54 at the southbound 5 connector. Stalled car blocking the left lane of that transition ramp. Crash the coastline, northbound 5. This is right before Manchester, blocking the left lanes. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So we bring Bernie on. I was saying earlier, and he can confirm this to me. But I said Bernie Wilson does not give out respect that easily. And I feel like Peter Seidler was one of the few people in San Diego who actually earned it from Bernie. Good morning, Bernie. How are you?
Good morning, Brother Ben. Plus, I don't get out of bed for just any radio.
That's exactly right.
I do not get up before 10, but for you boys, I will.
We really appreciate it, man. How'd you take the news yesterday?
Well, it's... let's just be honest. You had the feeling that something was not going on well with Peter. He hadn't been at the ballpark. They sent out that... the press release in mid-September that he had a procedure and wasn't going to be back at the ballpark again. And, he, at that point, 2-time cancer survivor, it's like all he can do is hope for the best. And, in our business, we have obituaries prepared for, big-name people. I was going to start in on his yesterday, but I'd been busy with managerial but I got about 4 stories ready to go. But it's what you do when you work for the wire service. You have stuff ready to go, and I was able to write his obit relatively quickly, just based on knowledge and earlier stories about him. But it's you're not shocked, but you're saddened, certainly. And these are never easy, so. You got to just bury your head in your laptop and do your job, I guess.
Yeah, talking to Bernie Wilson here on Ben and Woods this morning, and listen, I know you've covered this team for a long, long time. Give us your impressions of the man Peter Seidler. Being able to chat with him and get to know him a little bit.
I was thinking about this last night as I slammed yet another hazy IPA in his honor. His accessibility was probably off the charts as far as an owner was concerned. I mean, you saw him at the ballpark. Sometimes he was by himself. Sometimes he was with his wonderful wife and 1 or 2 or all 3 of his kids. Sometimes he'd just be chilling by the dugout. Other times he'd be strolling down the right field line to chat with fans and whatever it is an active owner does. But and the thing that struck me is he never had an entourage. He never had people. He never had PR bobos. And I do say that with a tinge of disrespect for people who have PR bobos on their hip all the time. But Peter never did that. He was, he was his own man. He was self-confident. He was friendly. He was accessible. He would chat anytime about most things. There were some things that he would say, look, I'm not going to talk about that right now. And early this season was one of those times when the Padres were struggling and he was his usual cheery self, but he just didn't want to talk about certain things. But that's what struck me the most. I mean, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about when an owner is whisked into a stadium from a limousine with a security detail and Bobos on each side and more Bobos trailing him. We've all seen it. There was another team in town that, always made a big deal about that stuff. And I've heard people say, call the owner Mr. So-and-so instead of his first name. And that wasn't Peter. He was on the opposite end of that spectrum. And that's what made the relationship cool with a guy like Peter.
It's funny. I think I tried to call him Mr. Seidler once or twice. You too, Woods, in the beginning.
I called him Papa Pete on the last interview we did with him.
By the end, he actually won out, and it was like I felt comfortable calling him Peter.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because he was that at ease with people and made people feel that comfortable with him. Now, Bernie, I know you. In the great tradition of, like the 1960s, you love people who stick it to the man. Usually, billionaires and owners of the baseball teams, they are the man.
They are the man.
But in many ways, Peter Seidler was still sticking it to the man when it came to, maybe Rob Manfred and some of his fellow owners and the way he wanted to run his baseball team.
Well, Peter was 63, so he was around in the 60s, and yeah, he did stick it to the man. And, that's one thing, too, that stood out in all the tributes yesterday. Is like he was such a different owner, and it's like, man, now he's gone. And he was, and look, people, I hate to bring up the cesspool of social media, but people were bashing writers for mentioning that he was spending money. I think he actually said one time, I like spending money.
He did.
He did say that. So for people listening, that was his MO. He liked to spend money on his baseball team. And, as we see in Oakland and so many other places, there are a lot of owners who do not like spending money. But Peter did it gleefully. He loved baseball, he loved San Diego, and he loved spending money. So he did stick it to the man. And the fans, that's going to be a lasting legacy. I think Eric Grupner touched on that in the statement from the Padres, is that will be a lasting imprint in the fabric of the Padres for decades.
Yeah, there's been, quite a turnaround, and obviously the results on the field aren't always what you want them to be, Bernie. Very few baseball teams get to drink from the cup. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
Boch
he's had 4 tastes from the cup, and well deserved, adding another one this year, but it's just rare. It's hard to do. Did you get the sense? Have you heard anything about what are the next steps for this team, moving forward? I know, look, they're going to hire a manager in the next week or so. We'll all be there for that. But beyond that, do you know, have you heard anything about, I don't know, a succession plan for the San Diego Padres?
I have not. I haven't heard word one.
Yeah.
I know that his brother Tom works for the Padres. But I don't know that Tom's considered in the ownership group. He's a big executive. But, and that's, you hate to speculate too far down the road.
Sure.
But the equity bros, does the equity company take it over? Are there people we don't know about who could come in? But I mean, and that's another thing too. This happens at a very pivotal point with the franchise, with needing a new manager, needing to figure out this team turmoil stuff, and now Peter's gone. Is there going to still be the same vision, the same level of commitment? Who knows? I mean, I'm sure a lot more will come out, but that is going to be sort of hanging in the background now, isn't it?
I definitely felt that, had he been feeling better last year, that last year could have been repaired, at least, with the stories that you heard from AJ and Bob and things like that. And, Peter, they did come out with a statement, and he believes in both of them. And, I know how that ended was weird and uncomfortable for everyone. But, you do feel like if Peter Seidler was healthy, last year could have ended up different. He had that kind of influence over the team and all the people there. And I like you, I hope that they can continue on his legacy. And again, trying to bring a championship here to a city that deserves it.
Oh yeah, and Peter was a smart man, and you would think that he had a plan in place from for moving things forward. You don't become rich and powerful by accident usually. I mean, he was born into a very influential baseball family, but he used that as a stepping stone to make his own way. So you would think that he probably had a plan in place.
Bernie, do you feel a journalistic responsibility that whatever happens going forward, that we need to hold whoever runs the Padres to Peter Seidler's ideals going forward?
Question,
is that what Peter Seidler would have wanted with the San Diego Padres going forward?
Absolutely. I think he wanted to be held accountable.
He did.
I mean, I remember I did a long interview with him not long after Fan Fest and before spring training when things were very peppy and rosy, and he said, "Look, we haven't won anything yet." And I didn't have room in my story, but he was spot on. And he said that more than once over the years. We haven't won anything yet. So yeah, he wanted to be held accountable as well. And you can argue, did he stay with Preller too long? This, that, and the other thing. Well, he tried to hold things together as things unraveled. Because the last we heard of him, there were just that one statement the day after the season ended that the leadership team or whatever he wanted to keep it together moving forward. So yeah, I think people should hold this franchise absolutely accountable, because that, the best way they can honor his memory is to get their act together and go win a World Series, whether it's this year, next year, whenever.
Well, Bernie, we appreciate you getting up a little early with us. Treat yourself to an extra early hazy IPA later today. And
it will be later. I'm just barely into the coffee.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Bernie.
You bet. Take care.
Bernie
guys.
Wilson of the Associated Press. And I'm glad he kind of agreed with that I feel responsible a little bit going forward. Like, however the Padres are managed and run, and by whoever is ultimately making the decisions, that one of the questions has to be, is this what Peter would have wanted? Is this how he would have wanted his team to be run going forward? And I, as a Padres fan, one thing that makes me feel okay about going forward is that I've got to imagine that the people that Peter had surrounded himself, and he had an influence on their lives as well, and they're going to want to uphold that legacy. It's not like Peter would surrounded himself with a bunch of terrible people that he wouldn't want running the Padres when he was gone. He saw the big picture. He saw 50 and 75 years down the line, and he knew what he wanted for the Padres and Padres fans in San Diego. And my guess is that whoever makes those ultimate decisions will want to do the best that they can in honoring his legacy going forward.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it, Benny. Great piece by Buster Olney just dropped as well. And this is pretty cool. He was talking to Trey Turner. Peter was back in the fall of 2022 when the rumors were that the Padres were going to bring on Trey Turner.
They offered him a mega deal.
Yep. And he okayed the offer in the range of $350 million, well beyond the competing proposal of the Philadelphia Phillies. A few days later, the Padres made it clear that if Turner needed more money, he'll make that happen too. And Trey Turner actually was quoted in this. He said, "I was really impressed by him, what he was willing to do to win. He wasn't going to leave any stone unturned." Now, he had been leaning towards going to the Phillies, but the enthusiasm and humanity of Peter Seidler almost had it here. Almost had it. Almost had him. And at the end of it all, when he did end up accepting the deal to go to the Phillies, Trey Turner said he felt he owed it to Peter to call him directly. And the shortstop braced for his response. Peter's response was, "We're in this together to grow this great game." That makes me choke up. Like, wow, dude. Whew.
Peter did not have like a resentful bone in his body.
My God, dude, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We're in this together to grow this great game. Holy cow. Yeah, and that tells you what kind of human he was. Yeah, not, are you sure? I can give you more money. Like, I fully accept your decision. And, we're in this together to grow this great game. That choked me up like a madman, dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's
from Buster
really,
Olney.
really
Yeah.
good stuff.
And it's good of Trey Turner to share that today. That probably is, an interesting thing. I mean, I guess Phillies fans will be happy that he chose them, and, they didn't get their ultimate prize in their ring this year either. Trey ended up having a pretty good season after a slow start, very good season after a slow start. But, it's impressive how hard they went after Trey Turner, and then they went after Aaron Judge, and then they went after and landed Xander Bogaerts in this offseason. Clearly, Peter in particular, not just AJ, he wanted to get something done. He wanted to add more to his team for this season as they chase that World Series championship.
Another unnamed owner says, a good man, a great heart. This just breaks my heart. He had such a big heart. People in the sport were upset with him because he spent his own money, but he wanted to win the World Series, and he wasn't worried about the cost. He did it the right way. He paid into revenue sharing rather than being a recipient. And that's the legacy that you talk about, Ben. And that was a great question you asked, Bernie. And it's an eye-opening question because it does make you think, that when you talk to Eric Krupner next or whoever it may be, down the road about the future of this team. Yeah, it's absolutely up to you guys. It's in your hands now. It's a tremendous amount of pressure. Again, try to fill those shoes halfway, and it's going to be tough.
And not to get into the business of it yet, but the payroll reduction that we're hearing is coming this year. You do wonder if Peter was the one who kind of was able to stand in the way of the Rob Manfreds and everyone else and go, you know what? I'm going to do what I want, and you can come after me, but without Peter standing in the way, and we don't know how much he was able to do in the last couple of months.
That's a great point.
That it's much harder. Eric Grupner doesn't have that same backing that Peter Seidler had. A lot of clout in Major League Baseball. A legacy family, a huge investment group. Just a ton of money that made his words carry a lot further than anyone else's can carry. And now the Padres, they're getting that squeeze from Major League Baseball going, debt service, you got to do this and you got to do that. And they don't have Peter anymore to go, Shield, hey, Shield, I'm Peter Seidler. We're trying to win a championship. Go away. Go bark at some other team, So I don't know how much plays into that, but obviously that's going to be a story to follow going forward here in this offseason.
It's going to be so interesting to see how it all turns out. I will tell you this, man. One of the days I'm looking forward to the most and the least, it will be so emotional on opening day. So massively emotional. And he will be at the top of everyone's mind that day.
I'm sure they will be planning all offseason how to make it special. The Padres do that so well. Already opening day is a special day, but it'll be very emotional. All right, this has been an emotional 3 hours. We've got one to go. More Ben and Woods coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. I am always impressed by our Tier 1 community, but I can't say that I've ever been more impressed than I have just this morning, yesterday, with the Tier 1s that I ran into at Petco Park, at the Memorial. It is such a great community here. And it's not just our show, it's Padres fans in general as well, but we have a incredible community, and we have to thank Peter Seidler so much for helping build that community. Even though we could have tried to do it without him, he galvanized us and helped bring us together in ways that I think we never thought were possible, Woods.
Well, he sure calmed me down a bunch, man. He really did. And I would think about him. I was more zen this year in a bad season than I was the year before. And it's that influence of, hey, like he said in the quote, we'll get him again tomorrow. I think he had that, as Ron Fowler said in his piece. I think it was in Kevin Acey's piece in the UT. Said he wasn't even a glass half full guy. He was a glass 3/4 full guy. And his optimism
can be as dry as the Sahara Desert,
right.
And he's glass 3/4
Yeah,
full.
his optimism really shone through. I would love to have a magical season ahead of us. I really would.
Honestly, if there's one thing you would criticize Peter for, is you maybe thought maybe he was overly optimistic at times and lost sight of the reality of a situation. You know what? If that's the worst thing you're going to say about someone, then you have lived an incredible life.
You lived a great life.
Yeah, occasionally he was just a little too optimistic.
Yeah.
Great. Good job, Peter. You really did live an incredible 63 years, and you touched so many people inside baseball, in San Diego, beyond the unhoused, the medical community. I mentioned, the story about that my son and the type 1 diabetes, but he donated tons of money to the cause of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, fighting cancer, fighting type 1 diabetes, looking for a cure. Did that without very much publicity or fanfare as well, just like his midnight strolls to help the homeless, and his meetings with the Tuesday group that he did to try to solve those major civic issues here in San Diego. Wasn't cameras around, wasn't reporters there for all of it. Occasionally, once or twice, one would just needle him enough to get, like Bryce Miller did, just to go and see what he's doing. But he didn't do it for the publicity. No. Not at all. He did it genuinely because he cared about people as a human being. We got our phone lines open here for our last hour, 833-288-0973, sharing our memories and stories of Peter Seidler. Jed is calling us up this morning. Jed, welcome to 97.3 The Fan.
Good morning, boys. How are we doing?
Good, man.
Morning.
How are you?
Doing all right. It's been an emotional morning listening to you boys, but I just wanted to kind of take the time to say that there's so many lessons to be learned in this situation. I know, Woodsy, you kind of just had a scare with your mother. I just lost my dad about 6 months ago, and there's just time is the most precious thing, and at the end of it all, we want people talking about us the way that we're all talking about Peter Seidler. That's really all that matters, and that's all we can strive for, is to, like you said, implement the type of life that Peter Seidler lives. And so if I could go back and answer your topic wheel from a few days ago of someone that's changed my life but doesn't know they changed my life, I'd have to say Peter Seidler, because from this day forward, I will always try to make an impact every single day.
You got Woods. You got him, Jed. You got him.
Jeez.
You set him up well talking about his mom.
Yeah.
And then you hit home with the Peter Seidler there at the end. Great job, Jed. You broke Woods.
Broken in half, man. No, he's absolutely right. It's you hear that word and it freaks you out, and things are really good. My mom and dad will be here today, coming in for about 9 days, and going to be here for Thanksgiving. I'm super grateful for that.
Think you're going to appreciate your time with them a little bit more?
I am, absolutely.
Of course.
And the time they get to spend with their grandkids and all that. And yeah, man, the update on that is that she went to the best cancer facility in the world, MD Anderson in Houston, and they gave her the once over and said, look, your It's there, but it's not active. So you're going to have to come back every 3 months or so to do tests and whatnot. And that's as good as getting a clean bill of health almost at this point. We went from 3 to 5 years looking down that barrel to
it's okay.
Oh, to much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cancer's scary. I mean,
It's
if Peter, with all of his resources,
I know.
And he beat it twice, but, it's a scary thing. And, I've had family members, mom, dad, have battled. And it's, I think we all know that it could be any one of us at any time.
Yeah,
so.
it makes you think. And I just had a great time in L.A. Got to see probably my best friend in the world in Jack. And we had such a good time laughing and having a ball. And then I went to see a concert that was just so magical. And, I posted last night on Instagram, just remember to do things that make you feel like you're alive, and that for me, that experience being 3 rows from my rock and roll Jesus, basically, and slapping his hand at one point as a grown 48-year-old father of 2 with my hand out up to the stage, wanting to get my hand slapped like I'm, a Swiftie or something. And he does it, and I'm giddy, and I'm singing along and dancing and having a blast. Yeah, I was so happy after it was over to be able to experience it and to do it. And I thought, these are the things that make me feel, the most alive. So that's the lesson I wanted to impart today was, man, overpay for the ticket if you have to. You guys know I like to overpay for things. I overpaid for this ticket, Ben, 10 times what it was worth. Literally 10 times. I would have paid 20. That's how much fun I had.
Peter Seidler overpaid for a few tickets as well.
Yeah, he did. That's how magical it was. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was just money. It was just money, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And the memories that I made in just 2 short days. Normally, I don't like to miss work. I don't like to leave you guys in the lurch, and I definitely did. But for me, it was so worth it to be able to do that.
handle the Brady Hoke news all by ourselves.
Yes,
we did.
Holy cow, dude!
God.
Heard you guys handled it a lot, so that's
we
good.
did a lot of Brady Hoke talk, more than you probably would have allowed.
My
in the
wife,
last couple of days.
My wife in the chat just said, "You paid what now?" Yeah, I paid about 10 times what that ticket was actually worth because it was such an intimate, small, 150 people show. I will never forget it. I will never forget that night. It was just incredible. So, sorry, babe.
Let's go out to Ron, you're next up. Ron, how are you going to make Woods cry this morning on Ben and Woods?
Seriously.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, tough couple days for sure. I think the thing that Peter Seidler did for this city was bring us all together as sports fans.
Yeah.
And he made the Padres relevant again. And you could see that when the Padres were playing, in some other city, and there's just tons of Padre fans in the stands wearing their gear, and that's all Peter Seidler. We were proud. We were proud to be Padre fans again. I went up to Dodger Stadium with some friends a couple of times this last year, and we were just damn proud to wear our stuff up there, And being a cancer survivor myself, Woods, we always say that you and I don't agree on sports a lot, but you know what? We agree on this, man. And that guy was a gem, and I just hope he rests in peace, and I wish his family the best.
Now, Ron,
do you guys have
do we argue on Twitter or something? I can't. There's so many of you.
We argue on Instagram.
On Instagram, okay. Or do you like bunting or something? What's the deal?
No, it's just it was just mostly Bob Melvin type stuff.
Okay, all right. I'm a big Bo Mel guy. That's fine. Well, I appreciate.
But I'm gonna Yeah, I'll probably head down to the stadium today myself.
Good deal. Yeah, I may see you down there. I'm going to head out in about an hour. So
yeah, if you do get a chance, the memorial is, I think, so well done there at the stadium. Yeah, it can be whatever you want, really, but just standing there in front of it, it's very just kind of cathartic, and
Sure.
you get your moment, and they got the waterfall going, and you get those peaceful sounds, and the picture of Peter. It's a really nice setup down at the home plate gate at Petco Park.
yeah, very, very cool. Looking forward to heading down there today, seeing some of you guys down there for sure. Yeah, it was a great call by Ron, by the way. I don't remember arguing with him. Again, there's so many that I do argue
You
with.
remember the good moments, not all the arguments. All the
Well,
time.
yes,
You
I
do
just-
remember some of the arguments.
I
actually.
like to debate, and apparently Ron does too. So, which is fine. Healthy debate is fine. And you know, it is funny talking about the community of Padres fans. And I know Twitter is just a small part of it, but you know, listen, we argue throughout the year. People think they know. I think I know. Ben thinks he knows. Paul thinks he knows. We all think we know. At the end of the day, though, the one common theme is that the night when they win a Game 7, we're not going to be arguing anymore. You know, there will be no more arguments. There will be no more, well, we should have done it this way, or I told you so. I knew he was the right starting pitcher to use in this game, right? Like,
speak for yourself. I think we should have won it in 5, but
well, true. Yeah, true. Yeah, that
I
would
wish
be
we would
something.
have wore the other uniforms.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Let's get one more in before we read our biggest fan. Let's go to Eric at the top of the board. Eric, easy. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good,
Thank you
buddy.
for taking my call. I really appreciate
Yeah.
that. I also wanted to share the same feeling as Woodsy mentioned earlier. Yesterday I was so PO'd at the idea that we couldn't do one for Seidler this
Yeah.
year. But then I woke up this morning listening to you guys and so positive, and that's the type of guy he was. And quite honestly, Peter Seidler died like a hero, man. A hero for San Diego. He gave me back my pride as a San Diegan. And that's something that I will always carry with me because I'm 31 years old, man. I'm a soccer player. I'm not a baseball fanatic like you guys are, but I try. And quite honestly, it takes time, effort, and the most important, money. It takes money to galvanize this community, and he did it. And now it's our turn to give back, and I obligate myself to do it. So thanks to him, he's a great influence, and he changed my life forever today as well.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks, Eric.
so much
You
for
know,
the call.
we both said it earlier. We were both a little mad yesterday that they didn't do more for Peter in this last season. But Eric's right. The last person who would want us to be mad about that is Peter Seidler.
He, you know, we always do the game of, like, well, what if, Woods, if you were the owner, this is what you'd be like. And Ben, if you were the owner, this is what you'd be like. And I can definitely see myself going into the clubhouse after a 6-game losing streak and be like, what am I paying for? You know what I mean? Like, I get mad in San Diego when it rains. I'm like, why do I pay? What am I?
I'll be upset later today.
Yeah, I know. I heard it's going to rain later, and I'm like, what do I pay? What am I paying for? I can't imagine if I was an owner and a guy's not running hard or something. Like, I think I would be the worst. Peter is like, get him tomorrow. Just get him tomorrow, and that's a special breed. That's the only kind of person that you want running your team. You don't want somebody like me running your team. You don't want somebody like Ben running your team. You want a guy like Peter running.
I think what hurts is we all know Peter deserved to win the World Series.
Yes.
There are plenty of owners who win World Series who don't deserve to win the World Series.
Question, man.
Not even a little bit.
Not even in the slightest.
But you know, the baseball gods are fickle and capricious, and sometimes the cheating Astros win, and sometimes the cheap Kansas City Royals get to win a World Series. Yeah. Peter Seidler deserved it more than any one of them. Probably most of them combined. He deserved to win a World Series. And it still does. It bothers me a little bit that he didn't get it because he deserved it. And I like to see people who deserve good things get good things. And Peter Seidler deserved all the good things that he did. He didn't ask for any. He asked for one thing.
One thing.
He asked for one thing. He gave and gave and gave and gave and wanted one thing from the universe.
You're getting mad again.
It was a World Series title. Come on, baseball gods. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
What are you doing?
Wake up. Wake up.
All right. It's 9:15. That means it is time for today's First Name, the biggest fan contest. If you hear your name called, you will have 10 minutes to call us at 833-288-0973. If you do, you will be registered for our grand prize, 20 tickets at a 2024 Padres game in the Odyssey Suite to watch with all of your friends and family and all of the fans' hosts. You have to register, though, to get your name called at 973thefan.sd.com/biggest fan. This morning's biggest fan is Andrew South. Andrew South, you are on the clock 10 minutes from now. Call in 833-288-0973. Get your name into the drawing for the grand prize of the next season's Sweet Night at Petco Park. We still have more callers. Want to share Peter Seidler memories. We're going to probably bring back a little bit of Major Garrett at the bottom of the hour as well. He was terrific in our 6 a.m. hour talking about Peter. All still to come after some traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Got good news for Andrew, bad news for everyone else, but he is called back, and his name is into the hopper for that grand prize drawing for the biggest fan. Again, register at 973thefansd.com/biggest-fan today. We're going to bring you some of our back to the phone lines, sharing our memories of Peter Seidler here on the day after his passing. Let's go to Mark. Mark, welcome to Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, buddy.
I felt compelled to call in. Dodger fan living here in San Diego, so that's always kind of fun to go the back and forth with the fans. But the reason I felt compelled to call in today, I know what Peter was going through, and I'm taking daily treatment, dealing with cancer myself, and I just want to say that I respect him so much, how he carried himself through the hard times and the good times, and it's a huge loss to the community. I love living here. Baseball fandom aside, this is a wonderful city to bring up my child, my boy, and I take him to a lot of Padre games. He's a Dodger and Padre fan, just for all the time that we spend down there at Petco, and Peter's got everything to do with the vibe down there, and just from a Dodger fan perspective, I just wanted to say I'm sorry to the fan base out here and to all of the San Diego community.
You're very
I
kind.
appreciate it, guys.
Very kind. Mark's a great dude. I chat with Mark all the time on Twitter, and he is he's as level-headed of a Dodger fan as you can
Going to
get.
give Dodgers fans a good name.
I know.
Awful.
I know.
Awful. I appreciate the call and the genuine emotion. And just to be completely clear, the Padres did not disclose Peter's cause of death. The family wanted it to remain private. We do know that he did twice battle cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and obviously faced health challenges over the years, but we don't know officially like what was the cause of death for Peter Seidler.
Yeah, and I think what Mark I've talked to Mark about this before. He's going through it, right now every day, and knowing that Peter had gone through the same thing in his life and beaten it twice is really encouraging. And Mark is a really, really good dude. Like I said, I've talked to him a bunch on Twitter. Just a great, great human being. So Mark, my thoughts are with you and your family as well, because it's, like I said, I've had a little bit of experience with it with some grandparents and things like that. But when I got the message about my mom, it changes everything. It just changes your world entirely. Obviously, my wife, what she went through with her father it's omnipresent in our home, our life. So it's something that's always in the back of my mind. It's something that you're always terrified about. And I just really appreciate that phone call, Mark. You're a good dude.
I will say we do have some Dodgers fans in our Tier 1 community. They're not quite as vocal sometimes, but they're out there, and there are some really good guys and gals who cheer for the Dodgers but still listen to Ben and Woods for whatever reason.
I don't know
why
you're
out there.
And
we do appreciate it.
This was my favorite part of my trip. There was when I mentioned where I was going last week, I said I'm going to the Crosses show Monday in L.A., and I got a DM from a Tier 1, Brian Ortiz. And he said, dude, I'm going to be there too. And I said, great. If you see me, say hello and we'll hang out. So I get dropped off at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And I walk back and I go, oh no. There was a line of 200 people deep, way, way back. And I go, oh my God, I'm going to be the last guy in this thing. So I'm walking down the row, and all of a sudden, did
you have a seat, or was it
it's
GA?
GA.
So you were like,
I'm screwed. I'm in the back. I'm just chilling in the back, leaning against the wall. And he's about 5 people deep in line.
He got there early.
He goes, Woodsy! And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, it's me, Brian from Instagram. I'm like, what's up? He's like, jump in line. I'm like, oh. I go, are you sure? Yeah, I did.
Oh, you met your friend there.
Yeah, but I was meeting my friend.
He got there
Paul.
early to
Yes.
save a spot for you guys, and you met your friend in line.
So we're sitting there shooting the breeze. He's like, I love you guys so much. I love everything about your show. And he looked at me though. He goes, I have to admit, I am a Dodger fan. And I go, oh, no, it's fine, dude, right? I mean, you let me cut the line. I don't care who you root for. And he goes, I got to tell you, though. He goes, I love it when you pound the Dodgers. I love it. He loves it. He goes, because really, like, yeah, you take some personal shots every now and then. He goes, but what you say is true. Like, we do only have that one little short season championship. And he goes, it stings, but like, you're not wrong. And he's like, we should have won way more than we have. And he was just so cool and kind about it. I thought I got the biggest kick out of that.
That's incredible. We've even converted a couple of Dodgers fans to being Padres fans. It's not our goal. We don't want you to necessarily give up on your team, but it's absolutely possible. And of course, the greatest example of all time is Peter Seidler, who was born into Dodgers royalty and was a Dodgers fan probably for the first 50 years of his life. And by the time, he passed away yesterday, he hated the Dodgers as much as the rest of us.
It's fantastic. Just fantastic.
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
I will never tire of it.
Let's get another phone call. The calls have been so good. Ronald's been hanging on for a while. You're next up here on Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
It's actually Ronald's wife, Rachel.
Rachel, welcome.
Sorry.
Even better. Even better.
We did not want to talk. We didn't want to talk to Ronald anyway.
A quick story. In 2019, my husband and I went to batting practice on the field, and we're there, and it's, Hosmer is there, and Tatis and Manny, and we're watching, and we're like, this is so cool. We're season ticket holders, we're starstruck. And Peter Seidler and his wife walk onto the field, and my husband goes, look, it's Peter Seidler. And we look over, and he comes over to us, and my husband has like the brown and gold on. And this is still back when they have the white and the blue the year before the brown and gold. He goes excited for the brown and gold. My husband's like, yeah, we're pumped, and we love it. And he's like, great, I wanted to do it for the fans. And we were just kind of talking. I had mentioned I had just had a daughter. Our daughter was a few months old at the time. And they both looked at me, and they're like, we have two little girls. And I think she said they were 4 and 6. And they were like, congratulations, hang in there. We're surviving. Have a baby, and we're just exhausted. Yep. They're like, you got this. And so they just sat, and they just came over and they talked to us, and we just chatted about our baby girls and baseball while watching batting practice. And it was just 4 tired parents all kind of talking. And it was just one of those moments where they walked away, and I was like, did we just talk to Peter Seidler about parenthood while we're watching Tatis hit bombs? And my husband's like, yeah, that just happened. And we're like, coolest thing ever, just so sweet, so down to earth, both of them, his husband, him and his wife. And it was just a cool moment, and just how he can relate to people and make a tired mom feel like she can get through it.
That's amazing.
And his wife, so.
Thank you so Rachel, that's great.
That's a great call.
As much as we're all hurting as a community, obviously for Sheil and the kids, it's a much more personal and devastating loss today, and just everyone keep them in our thoughts, obviously, today and going forward. So,
yeah, I think that his name, his legacy will live on in San Diego long after we're gone. As we mentioned earlier, there's no way there shouldn't be a statue.
I mean, obviously,
out front,
statue. I think we go beyond that.
No doubt.
There needs to be things in San Diego named after Peter Seidler, like a Peter Seidler Boulevard somewhere downtown, we need to take this to the next level, like the Peter Seidler Freeway or something. Maybe a homeless shelter, a Peter Seidler, whatever they've got. We got to put his name on some of these things.
Mayor Gloria, if you're listening, Peter Seidler Day in San Diego.
Yeah, no question.
I mean, whatever we got to do. We said it earlier. I want that statue by opening day.
It's got to be there, man. It's just got to be there. It's got to be. I don't know how long it takes to make a statue. Probably pretty long to get it right. We've seen some bad ones in our time. The Ronaldo statue, as we've all seen, looks like it was done in 20 minutes by Bo. And so I think, to do it right, you have to do something, though, man.
Matt says, "Yeah, I haven't cried in 3 minutes. How about another call, please?" Well, we can take a few more. I think we're going to bring you some of our Major Garrett interview as well, but maybe some more calls on the line as well. 833-288-0973. Final timeout. Back to wrap up Ben and Woods on an emotional Wednesday here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, we got full phone lines here as people want to continue to share their memories of Peter Seidler.
I want to get as many calls in.
Yeah, let's get as many.
Yeah.
If you missed Major Garrett, I
You can
certainly
find Major Garrett's
encourage you to go
podcast.
back to our 6:30 segment. He was terrific, but we don't need to replay that here if people want to share their thoughts. So let's check traffic one last time, and then we'll run through as many phone calls as we can to talk Peter Seidler until 10 o'clock here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Just a few problems wrapping up our morning drive. Crash has been moved over to the right shoulder on North 5 coastline just before Manchester, up ahead before La Costa. Accident over to the right shoulder. Also going to find on the westbound 8, right before the 15, accident involving a couple vehicles blocking that left lane. Hit and run crash on the Paradise Valley Road on-ramp to northbound 125. Keep in mind, we're getting some rain, guys, so this afternoon's commute is going to be a rough one. You definitely want to take that into consideration. Give yourself extra time. Be extra careful out there, especially on those transition ramps. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, be careful if you're driving down to Petco Park. Again, the memorial is going to be open until midnight. Again tonight at the home plate gate with free parking in the tailgate lot. Let's go back out to our phones. We got Thomas with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Hello, Thomas.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for doing this morning. It's a very, very emotional morning, but I would just like to give a perspective on what a difference Mr. Seidler made. You know, my favorite movie is Schindler's List, and at the end of the movie, he stands before all these people whose lives he saved, and he starts crying, and he's pouring out his heart. He said, if I just would have tried a little bit harder, if I just would have did this, I could have saved another person. Well, that's who Mr. Seidler was. He was a true hero. He gave his everything. I mean, he's a true hero. I mean, there's no other way to describe Mr. Seidler. He poured his life into not just the Padres, but into our city. He poured his, I mean, our lives will never be the same. It's hard to put into words just how that empty feeling of missing. And, you know, Woodsy, I know you know this, but Lauren Nancaro was my mom's favorite. When Lauren Nancaro came on the news, time stopped because my mom loved Lauren Nancaro, and his life was just so precious and special. And, you know, I just wanted to tell you guys thank you for doing this today. My heart's broken. My heart's just really broken because we lost a really, really special man. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Now Hannah's crying. You kind of got me now too. I worked with Lauren, of course, Channel 10. This is just an emotional morning here. I think part of me would roll my eyes at some of the comments if I was listening. Like, there's no way Peter was this saintly. You guys are going over the top. He just owned a baseball team, right? No, he really does. Yeah. He deserves the Schindler's List type comparisons, and the hero terminology is not overblown for Peter Seidler and the kind of guy that he was. It wasn't just because he paid a lot of money to bring Manny Machado to the Padres. I mean, that was cool, but it went beyond that. It was the person that he was, the way he helped other people that were less fortunate, that made him such a superstar here in San Diego.
No question about it. The comparison is not lost on me, certainly. And you talk about trying to live up to someone, you know, and that's I've said to my wife many times, like, I'm never going to be able to fill those shoes, you know, of my late great father-in-law, certainly. But, you know, with my boys, you know, that's where I try to put all of my energy into, because that's what he would have done, and that's what he did with his family as well. So I really appreciate that call. I know my wife does as well. Like I said, the presence of Lauren in our house is omnipresent, as is the influence of Peter Seidler. When you know, my 5-year-old son, like, he knows everything about baseball now. You know, everything. And that is because of the smallest things, right? Like the City Connects and things like that, and getting these phenomenal players in.
Bo was born in 2012, and his first 5 years were 2012 through 2017,
right.
Watching Padres baseball.
He
might like it.
He might like it because his dad likes it, but
not going to be like how it is.
He is just on fire. for the team, and it's such a part of us.
Mark in our chat says, Peter inspired my son to write a report on the homeless for his third grade class. He was then able to stand on the dugout at Petco Park and read it for hundreds of people. Thank you, Peter.
That's so badass, man. It's so badass.
Let's go to Carlos is next up here on 97.3 The Fan. Hello, Carlos.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
I wanted just to be quick. I mean, it's weird how someone I've never met, it impacts you and it hurts you, you know?
Yeah.
It brings like a cloud over your head. But the reason I called is I'm not sure if you guys have known, because I haven't heard it, but ground floor murals, they made a mural of them already, right there on 1202 Kettner.
Yep.
So, I mean, if anybody is not aware, you know, there's something there.
Yeah, go down and check that out today.
If you haven't seen it, Paulie, there it is in our YouTube chat right there at the Stone Brewing Company on Kettner. Peter Seidler, good likeness of him.
Incredible.
It looks amazing. Looks amazing. I'm thinking about growing the stash out this year again, just for Peter.
It's like Peter, but a little more like superhero Peter.
Yeah, it looks really
The
good.
hair is just a little more on point maybe there at the top, but yeah, it's a really good mural of Peter Seidler.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, they did, man. Got it up really, really quick, and it's beautiful and really well done by them. My hope is multi-pronged here, but my hope is that, people hear all of these things, and then, like the one caller said earlier, commit themselves to doing better, right? Just being a little bit better this year. Commit themselves to helping more than they are, giving more time, giving more money, giving more energy, whatever. And then my other hope, in a baseball sense, is when you see the vultures swoop in, like from the Yankees and their broadcasters. I mean, the announcement had just came out, and they're talking about, well, they're definitely going to have to trade Juan Soto now, and here's what we can do. And it's like, okay, I get it. You don't understand. It's not necessarily your fault that you don't understand the kind of person that we just lost. But my hope is that the equity group and Eric Grupner and Eric Kassenda and AJ Preller say, you know what? F you guys, man. We're not trading you Juan Soto. Juan Soto's here. We're going to sign Juan Soto. We're going to keep Juan Soto. We're going to go get this guy. We're going to get that guy. You don't have to be foolish about it. You don't have to be foolish about it. There's ways that you can do it. There's ways you can get creative. That's what my wish is that they just two middle fingers and say, nope, it's not happening.
There were three words that have been said on this show this morning and were said and echoed throughout San Diego over the last 24 hours. Live like Peter, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
I want to live like Peter.
No doubt.
It's very hard for any of us right now to live like a billionaire.
Right.
But if there was ever a relatable, personable billionaire that you could look up to and want to be more like and live like them, it's Peter Seidler.
Like I said, man, live your life so that when you die, people write things like they're writing about Peter Seidler.
I'm going to be totally honest. If I had the kind of money that Peter Seidler had, I'd like to think that I'd be generous and I'd support causes. Don't know that I'd be hands-on and walking amongst the homeless and handing out water and hot dogs and what he did. I don't know that I would. I'd feel really good about myself. Man, I just donated $500,000 to this and I donated $1 million to that. I'm so great, and it wasn't enough for Peter. Just giving his money wasn't enough for Peter Seidler.
Yeah, it's just rare. It's a rare person that he was.
Let's go to Steve next up. Steve in El Cajon. You're next with Ben and Woods here.
Hi, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Thanks for taking my call. I have a couple of Peter Seidler stories that really define him in my eyes. Number one, I own a large advertising agency and actually advertising your show quite often. But one of my clients was Boot World, and one day I got a call from Peter, who I work with quite a bit on Padres stuff. And he said, can you bring them in? He goes, I want to talk to them about advertising in the Padres broadcast. They haven't been in for a while. So I brought them in, and he shut the door. We sat down, and he said, okay, we're going to talk about getting shoes for the homeless. And that was the whole conversation. He never brought the Padres up at all.
That's amazing.
He just wanted donations for the homeless from Boot World. which happened because of him.
That's amazing.
The other thing is, my wife is, I don't know, but my wife passed away recently from a very bad, serious disease.
Sorry, man.
And Peter Seidler called at least once a month, or text at least once a month, while he was going through his problem, to see how she was until she passed away.
Wow.
And that was the type of guy he was, and I learned to love him as a person and a friend, and I just thought I'd share that with you.
That's beautiful, man.
Steve, yeah, breaking up a little bit, but I mean,
I heard Peter, while he was going through what he was going through, called Steve once a month to check in on him.
Because of his wife, just to check in on him. I mean, you have lifelong friends who don't check in on you once a month. This
Ben
is the
never
owner of the
checks in on me,
Padres,
ever.
I'm the guy who runs the Boot World advertising account, and he gave some, helped him get some boots for the homeless, and he checked in on him once a month to make sure he's doing okay.
That's
it's not people like that.
That's what it is. That's the essence of it. Today. Just very caring and kind man who'll be terribly, terribly missed.
We're not going overboard on this. He
No,
deserves
it's
it.
not.
He probably deserves the. I mean, I'm going to feel bad when we stop talking constant Peter Seidler, because he really deserves us to keep just sharing stories on and on and on. And obviously, life doesn't work that way. And tomorrow we'll probably start talking about what the Padres are going to be doing, and bringing up the football games on the weekend or whatever. But really, he deserves it. As much as we praise we can heap on him, he deserves it.
Yeah, it's not overwrought in my opinion at all. Not even scratch the surface. So, and again, I mean, there's going to be things that come out as we go. I know a lot of the players have posted tributes and stuff, and I know that there will be more to come. And I know that those guys are grieving hard right now because that man, you talk about taking care of someone for the rest of their lives. That's what he did for way more than one person. He did it for a lot of people under his employ. And so I know that they're hurting down there at Petco Park, and our thoughts are with you guys. We are a family, certainly, and we feel that too.
The memorial is going to stay open until midnight tonight again, like it did yesterday. And while we haven't heard anything, everybody is still very much grieving and going through that process. But I would assume at some point here during the off season, there'll probably be more of a bigger celebration of life down at Petco Park.
Yeah, for sure.
That tends to happen when these things happen. So I would assume that's probably something we can plan for.
Yeah, the Padres don't need to rush on any of those details.
No.
We got the Thanksgiving holiday coming up and Christmas. Even if it waits until before the season, I'm sure they will have innumerable tributes to Peter Seidler that will be coming up before and during spring training, and then during the season in 2024. Today, you've got Coach John Quinteros coming up next, and I'm sure he'll be continuing this discussion and taking more phone calls. It is the Cy Young announcements later today. Blake Snell remains the heavy favorite to win the National League Cy Young Award, so probably get a little bit of good Padres news, and I consider that good news, even if we don't think he's going to be a Padre next year. Honor his accomplishments for this season and join that small elite company. Randy, you're getting another compatriot, I think, today. Jake, you're getting another compatriot today. Mark Davis as well, of Padres Cy Young Award winners when Blake Snell picks up the award. I think that announcement comes around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. 3 o'clock this afternoon.
The show starts.
At 3. Yeah,
3:45.
Yeah. Who knows if the American League or National League goes first? How they do
MLB
that,
Network, if you want to watch today at 3 o'clock, and I'm sure Gwen and Chris will be monitoring it as well. Throughout their show.
Yeah. Stay tuned. 97.3 The Fan. As soon as that breaks, obviously. They'll pass that news along for you. Yesterday, our Tier 1 and good friend Skip Schumacher was named the National League Manager of the Year, which is very cool for Skip. In his first season, taking the Miami Marlins to the playoffs. Saw a couple people say, we let Skip get away. Yeah, they were smart enough to hire Skip in the first place here as a coach. They definitely saw something in Skip. Kind of wish it had worked out a little bit better, where he could have taken over as manager of the Padres. Timing wasn't maybe exactly right for that, but things worked out pretty well for Skip in Miami. And now he's got to do it again. That's always the toughest part.
No doubt about it, man. Thank you to all the Tier 1s that listened and watched today, that called in, cried with us, laughed with us, shared your stories. We really appreciate it. we take this pretty seriously as well, and it's important to us to be able to be here for you guys, and you guys are there for us every single day, and we obviously couldn't do it without you, so we're really appreciative of that.
Paulie, thank you for all the production you did for the show today. Man. It looked fantastic on our YouTube stream. You have to be sensitive on a day like this and do it right, and Paulie, you absolutely nailed the tone of everything. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
And Woods, thank you for being you. Thank you for coming back from your vacation as well, but for being vulnerable and letting everybody see your emotion and know that it's okay to be sad and it's okay to cry a little bit, even if you're a tough dude.
I'm definitely not a tough dude.
It's okay, especially on a day like this. It's okay on any day, really. If you're feeling emotional, then let it on out.
Yep.
We're all here for you. Not going to make fun of you for it, for sure. So
Ben will, but the rest of us will not make fun of you.
No, thankful that I had you guys
emotional.
to share this 4 hours with. I'm proud of this show.
Me too.
That
Very.
we did today. I'm proud of our tier ones, and I'm proud of our radio station. And
calls were amazing.
And the callers were absolutely fantastic. So
love you guys.
Healing is just getting started. Peter, we will miss you. Thank you for being you. Almost made it.
So close.
I
You
love
finished
that,
the
man.
show.
I really did. The kindest soul I've ever known.
No doubt. We'll be back tomorrow. Love you guys. Damn.